I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest. Into the digital darkness.
Well, good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting and 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we got a doozy for you. We've been following this one for a few years now, and there seems to be the plot thickens, this whole, the acceleration, the quickening we always talk about. In this particular case, things seem to be as if reality is out of alignment. If you guys remember this old story, there was an old, going back a couple years, about the Palomar Anomalies, which was an old observatory where they kind of did this, these sky surveys. And as they went back and were kind of looking at these with new eyes, fresh eyes, and new equipment, of course, because in the 50s, we were using, less than high-tech stuff, of course. And so the odd part is that these, as we went back and looked at some of these old sky surveys from the Palomar observatories and the sky survey itself, that a lot of these stars that they imaged back then are now gone. They've literally vanished based on what we can see with the naked eye and also what we can see through modern sky surveys, which is an incredible thing to consider right off the bat. And we've talked about it in the past a few different ways. It fit into that what was that show from Netflix, the three-body problem. It kind of fit into that a little bit, if you remember that. Some spoilers on there. They had the stars blinking out, and that's just sci-fi. But in this particular case, if you read the write-up tonight, it's very good, and it's very detailed, and it kind of goes into the many different sort of aspects of this. And I'll get into this in just a second, but as usual, look, these are just ideas. This is based on a preprint paper that is yet to be peer-reviewed, and it is done by an individual and her team by the name of Beatriz Villarreal. Sorry about that. And the links are going to be in the description down below. They're already there if you guys want to read up on this stuff. And the entire paper is there as well, which is incredible because it's literally going back over those old the Palomar Sky Survey and finding where these stars have literally vanished. And we've talked about this, like I said, quite a lot in the past, but now suddenly we've got a actual scientist, a team of scientists going through with a fine-tooth comb and trying to figure out what the hell happened and why exactly we're dealing with these these anomalies today. It doesn't make any damn sense, because you would expect, if we're dealing with technology, old technology, that we would see new stars with the new technology and not disappearing ones that were very clear, very obvious back in the 1950s. Now, again, so that this is published on researchgate.net, and the name of the paper is Aligned Multiple Transient Events in the First Palomar Sky Survey. And that really becomes the point of this, because, like I said, it gets spooky. Because as we know it, stars don't just disappear, okay? They explode, they go supernova, they collapse into black holes. There's all manner of things that we know as far as modern actual cosmology goes that fits into this. But stars just vanishing entirely really doesn't fit that mold. And there were a couple of articles in the past that kind of touched on this a little bit. Here's one of them that goes back a little bit, back to May of 2024. Headline is this: hundreds of huge stars disappeared from the sky. We may finally know why. And one of the things here is that they're talking about a collapse of like a total collapse of the star itself, okay? But still, that doesn't explain why hundreds of these things have just gone missing, which, again, is very weird. And this article is listed down below, and do check that out. If you're into the science of this, I do recommend you read the paper. Like I said, this is way smarter than me. It actually has some images here. It's got math, if you guys are into math. I'm not, obviously, or else I'd be going through this and kind of helping you understand it a little bit better. But instead, we're going to talk about the possibilities here. And what the hell do you think is going on with these actual missing stars? Because clearly, like I said, it's the inversion effect here of new technology should be able to find more stars, not lose them. And well, here we are in 2025, matching these sky surveys with modern equipment and realizing we're missing dozens or hundreds or more of actual stars that have been cataloged in the past, which doesn't make any damn sense. And so, yeah, that's where we start. Now, here's the weird part about this. Let me make sure I got all my stuff lined up. And there's so much to this that it's really dense, and it's good to read the write-up as well. Actually, I'm going to just read the write-up. That's the best way to do this, because I went and spent the time to lay this out properly, so I may as well read it. So here we go. In the archives of the Palomar Observatory, among thousands of glass photographic plates from the 1950s, lie images that challenge our understanding of what should and shouldn't be possible. These photographs, taken before humanity launched its first satellite, before we cluttered Earth's orbit with our machines, capture something that defies easy explanation. Points of light that appear and vanish within minutes, sometimes arranged in perfect alignment like pearls on an invisible string. Dr. Beatriz Villarroel and her team didn't set out to find evidence of high strangeness. They were conducting a systematic survey through the VASCO project, which is Vanishing and Appearing Sources During a Century of Observations, which we've talked about in the past quite a lot. And they were comparing old astronomical photographs with modern sky surveys. What they found instead was a pattern of anomalies that refuses to fit neatly into any category of known phenomena. This is where things get weird. The numbers tell a stark story. Out of over 100,000 transient events identified in the first Palomar Sky Survey, some show statistical significance levels that demand attention. One particular alignment of multiple transients carries a 3.9 sigma significance, a level that in particle physics would herald the possible discovery of something new. But perhaps more unsettling than the statistics is the timing. This is where this kind of comes together in a weird synchronistic space. This particular event occurred on July 19th, 1952, the same night that radar operators and pilots reported unexplained objects maneuvering over Washington, D.C. And that goes back to this. This is also linked in the description. It is known as the 1952 Washington, D.C. UFO incident, or the Washington flap. We've talked about this in the past quite a lot in different ways. In this particular case, we get into high strangeness, which this article gets into after that, which we'll catch up to in a second here, which, interestingly enough, high strangeness was a term coined by none other than J. Allen Hynek, the astronomer and UFO researcher, and notable for Project Blue Book and all the work he did with UFOs in the scientific realm. Anyway, so as of this, like I said, we're theory crafting tonight. We're looking at some of the science on this. We're looking at some of the explanations, some of the maybe space dust. I mean, there's a ton of things that this could be. So it doesn't have to be weird plasma orbs in the sky, but it could be. All right. Once again, things are so strange sometimes that even they defy not just the obvious explanation, but maybe even defy some of the more bizarre explanations as well. So remember, all the disclaimers apply as part of these conversations. We're theorycraft and we're talking about the ideas. All credit should go to Beatrice and her team. Links are in the description. Please go follow them in all the appropriate places. Like I said, if we're not doing science on this stuff and actually trying to find out what the hell it is, what are we doing? Okay, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to be the one doing this. So props to the team for kind of asking some of these hard questions that we don't really know a lot about. And that's that. All ideas are not truth tonight or any night. We're just here kicking the cosmic soccer ball around, as I like to say. And so we are taking your calls. If you want to be part of the conversation, it's 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org, and we'll talk to you guys tonight about this. But what are your theories? And remember, no truth, just possibilities, ideas. What do you know about this? Have you read the paper? Have you heard of this? And what do you expect the peer review process to bring as part of this larger conversation? Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up in exactly 1 minute. Don't go anywhere. This one is a quick word from our sponsor. In this case, that would be Human Inspiration. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Don't go anywhere.
In a world increasingly shaped by AI, human inspiration remains the beating heart of creativity. Alien Skin by Tremble, a hauntingly beautiful piano ballad, reminds us that while algorithms can mimic art, the raw, unfiltered emotions of human experience are irreplaceable.
So here I sit, locked in my room again.
Written and composed by Jesse Ian in collaboration with Todd Smith, this progressive masterpiece delves into the depths of internalized grief and the silent toll of artistic compromise. As AI reshapes our reality, Alien Skin stands as a testament to the timeless power of human emotion and the complex beauty that only true artists can evoke. Experience the haunting beauty of Alien Skin by Tremble and support human inspiration. Available now on iTunes.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Okay, so now there's a lot of theories that go along with this, but I want to point out some of the specific dates. They are in the paper here, and so this goes all the way back to the 50s, all right? And again, so not just, let's say, the 1952 UFO flap, which is an interesting thing, but this is all pre-Sputnik. And if you guys remember Sputnik, it was the first satellite that was launched into space, the first human actual, well, from what we're told, right? Because who knows what they actually do tell us. And so you take that wherever you like. But Sputnik, again, was launched, it entered a low elliptical Earth orbit on October 4th, 1957. Okay, so this UFO flap was 1952. And right smack dab in the middle of this star survey, which is again at the Palomar star survey. So again, we're like five years away from the first actual man-made satellite launch. And all of this stuff, again, when you look at the dates and some of the coincidences as they line up with that UFO flap from 1952 in Washington, D.C., it really kind of harkens at this bizarre space of, well, we barely had jets, we didn't have satellites, and yet we have all these damn lights in the sky that are, as of now, unquantifiable, as if they just vanished entirely. That's weird. And not just that, some of them statistically significant, that seems like they wouldn't be just some sort of poorly, let's say some misidentification, okay? And which is always a possibility as part of this, but as you look at the paper and go through some of this stuff and a lot of the things they've been talking about with this regard on Twitter or X and some other places, it seems like this is not the case because they considered that as one of the first parts of this, and this is why this keeps gaining traction and oxygen in sort of the larger, bizarre world spaces of conversation like we do, is because it's not easily categorized and it's not easily written off by just some misidentification of some spots on the glass, right? It's not like that at all. And so that becomes the weird part. So as part of the conversation, of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think this is? What do you know about it? And what do you expect the peer review process to bring as part of this? And do you think that as usual, reality is far more odd than we ever give it credit for. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Let's go to James first. So James first, we got the Robert next, and there you go. That's the pecking order as we start, because first in, and we'll talk to you first, and then if you want to put your hand up, get in line, you're definitely welcome to. James in Michigan, South Cedar Paranormal. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
I'm okay. I'm just hoping that the technology works for me this time.
Loud and clear. So far, so good. Cross your fingers.
Okay. Yeah, seriously. This is a great topic. I would like to sit in, and then just talk when there's time and between calls, if possible. But I do think that's amazing that this study is being done. If you think about all the weird things that happen here on this planet that we can't easily explain, to me it's always made sense that there's going to be things out there in space that also we can't easily explain. So I love that there's this study being done on these images and these glass plates, not like it's digital, not like you can manipulate it, to find out or try to figure out what's going on with these disappearing and appearing and lights or stars or whatever they may be.
Yeah, it is a weird one, and it is, like, us on this show, we like to get super weird with possibilities and ideas and the rest of that stuff. But as more of this starts coming out, and they're kind of cementing this down as well, these are real anomalies. This is not just some misidentification of, as you're saying, technology. I don't know. I don't know what to think, because again, space dust really doesn't describe vanishing stars. I mean, and think about it. And here, I didn't land this properly, but this is the spookiest part about it. Think about it this way. They're in the paper, they're actually describing these as possibly objects that are sort of glinting, reflecting light. Okay. But once again, this is pre-human satellite. And so if that's the case, and these are actually like objects out there, like UFOs or something to that degree, or, dare we murmur the breakaway civilization, or were we really in space quite a bit sooner than we thought we were? Like, there's a lot of this kind of these larger questions that come into this space and make you scratch your chin and go, what the hell is happening? And that's the bizarre part, because if you go back to what Charles Fort said, I know you're a big fan of Charles Fort, the godfather of the paranormal. He said something to the effect of that we're a zoo. We're like creatures in a zoo, and we're being sort of watched over by these other entities. And how else would you do it other than kind of plant these I don't know, pre-satellite satellites in the sky? And I mean, ancient astronaut theorists say yes. Am I right?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not sure if this is something that they cover in the paper or not, but the thing that I always wonder too with this is not only reflections, but when these lights vanish, is there some object that is even bigger than the star going by that is also still dark, that is just hiding the star for, again, minutes, and then goes away, and then the light comes back again? Or are there objects that are big enough to hide stars for who knows how long, for days or hours or days or weeks or whatever? And then that's really amazing to think about that. What could be that big, moving that fast in relation to everything else, that is still blocking out a star?
Yeah, exactly. And here's her follow-up sheet. So she tweeted this on July 27th. This is Beatrice Villarreal, can I say it properly? And so this is what she tweeted and linked the paper. She said, "This is a preprint of a paper now under review. We first tried in 2022, but it was too early for the journals. Years later, with better methods, we gave it another go. The key question has been, are the transients real or plate defects, as we just described there?" She says, "Well, there seems to be a clear deficit of transients in the Earth's shadow. If correct, that demonstrates they're highly reflective objects with flat surfaces. Think mirrors or glass. And transients are sunlight glints. And it seems there may be a few more of them than we initially thought." So that's where I first saw this, and she posted this. This is getting a ton of traction on X, as it should. And so imagine that. Actual glinting mirrors out there that are now no longer there. I mean, suddenly options become plentiful. Like, what the hell's going on, James?
Yeah, if you think of mirrors, you think of something that's almost like glass. What also has not only mirrors, but what also has glass, cameras, in a lot of cases, or at least something reflective, something to take in the light. So again, I mean, how many places are are we and the rest of maybe our solar system or whatever, how many directions are we being watched from, or were we being watched from, and have they moved on, or are they still there?
Yeah, and so this also brings to mind that idea of the zoo hypothesis, kind of back in that sort of Charles Fort vein, that we're, being watched, or we're zoo animals or something to that effect cosmically. And so how would they watch us? This would be a way, right? And maybe they sort of just vanished all those out of the sky because they realized, oh, oops, they're kind of moving into the space age. They're about to launch a satellite. They've got jet technology now. Like, who knows? Like, this is the type of like human thinking that kind of goes into this, into a cosmic space. But who really knows? And like I said, it's spooky enough to make you go, okay, so what's going on? And I think she said too, Beatrice said this again on Twitter X, shout out Joe, UFO Joe also, who actually transcribed with ChatGPT an article that she was part of here. But I think she said something to the effect of that once you started to verify this information, that it wasn't just simple misidentifications and some of these other things that you would expect it to be, that she was kind of giddy, but then also kind of sick to her stomach, because it meant like the implications were massive depending on what these things could actually be.
Yeah, and even just with the fort analogy, it makes me think of how the things he was talking about were falls of objects, falls of stones or rocks or biological actually parts or entire small animals and stones. And I'm just thinking, far enough back, that would be anomalous. And if you look at stones and meteors and asteroids and all that now, we know that things can fall from the sky. So what if we do know that all of those falls have basically slowed down now since then? But what else are they doing now? If there's other beings out there, then are they doing anything else out there? Or have they moved more into purely an observational phase or not?
Yeah, or kind of cloak themselves maybe. Maybe they're still there and we just can't see them with our, again, digital technology versus analog technology, as they were kind of putting these on glass plates at the time. I mean, there's a lot of information here that kind of is super mind-boggling. And as part of it, do you think that there's some significance to that UFO flap of 1952, that this was occurring at the same time they were actually taking this data from the sky? I mean, this seems like a ufologist wet dream in that regard, that, damn, now look at all this coming together in this massive synchronicity of not just kind of verifying that event, but also having it as a larger sky survey as part of it. I don't know. What's your take on that idea that it's happening all at the same time?
Well, especially when you look at, okay, in the fact that there was a UFO flap going on at that time is there's been many over the years, but not a lot, as far as I know. And someone maybe out there can correct me if I'm wrong. Not a ton of them have gone over D.C. and they haven't really gone over Washington D.C. all that much, from what I've heard. And again, I could be wrong, but if that was, let's say, the only one, then the timing is amazing. It seems a lot more than a coincidence to me anyway.
Yeah, which again really kind of makes this not just a sort of a scientific oddity, but also now sort of a synchronistic event where maybe this stuff is related in the larger context of the conversation. So I don't know. As usual, look, you guys know me. I don't have answers. I'm not the answers guy. I don't show up and tell you what to think, or let's just open it up and consider all the possibilities here, because who knows what's happening. And as usual, look, we can run the entire gamut of these ideas, including, some misidentification stuff, the space dust, maybe these vanishing stars of collapsed stars. I mean, there's some of that stuff that might be able to explain some of these things. But again, when they're able to identify more and more of them and start to really kind of line this up and go, wait a minute, there was something to this now. And what comes next? I don't know. What do you guys think regarding this, and how weird does it get? James, final thought there. We've got about 30 seconds left, and then you're welcome to sit, of course, and we'll get back to you in just a moment.
Yeah, happy to sit in. And just one other thing, we've all talked before about how there have been UFOs seen going in and out of the sun. If that can happen with all the stars out there, then how do we know that there aren't stars that are being created and then shut down somehow, destroyed somehow, sent somewhere else somehow, to close those portals, if they are some kind of portal in a way?
Yeah, very well said. Again, opening it up to some ideas to start here. No idea other than possibilities. What do you guys think is going on? How weird is this? And do you think that maybe we're on the cusp of actually finding out something more bizarre than we ever dreamed? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Be right back. More from James. We got the Robert coming up and your calls as well. What do you know about the curious case of the disappearing stars? This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back.
Stars are shining, flicker in the night, twinkle in and out. Oh, such a sight, dreamy light. Up above they glow so bright, bright. Wave to the universe, feeling just right. Dreamy night. You make me feel, you make me see. You pull me closer, my spirit free. Galaxies collide, bursting like a dream. Cosmic harmony, hear the gentle screams. So surreal. Closer to the edge, we're flying high, high, high. So surreal. Feel a pulse of night, what thrill, thrill. You make me feel, you make me see. You pull me closer, my spirit free. La 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 la, the way we flow. Let's dance in the stars, let our worries go. Close your eyes, let the starlight lead, floating through the cosmos, fulfilling a need. In this moment, nothing else can compare, lost in the magic, floating through the air. You make me feel, you make me see, you pull me closer, my spirit free. La 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 la, the way we flow, let's dance in the stars, let our worries go.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we talk about the Palomar anomalies, when the stars shouldn't vanish. How about this? What if mysterious lights captured on 1950s astronomical photographs are glitches in reality's code? Holographic projections from higher dimensions, plasma intelligence responding to nuclear tests. When professional astronomers document objects that appear and vanish in aligned patterns before satellites existed, we must ask, are these explanations too wild, or is reality wilder than we imagine? And that's what's on my mind tonight. Again, thanks to the great work of Beatrice and her team. I do encourage you guys to go follow, read the paper in full if you're got a science mind. If not, anyway, go check it out for the pictures and stuff and some of the other things. Like I said, scientific papers are kind of a dense read if you're not super into the math and stuff. But do check it out. Go give her a follow. Actually, on Twitter X, I'm following her right now. And yeah, this is like I said. Shout out to the team of scientists that are making. Let's say have the audacity to sort of ask these level of questions that seem outside of the normal realm of science. And so big fan here because this is what science is. We're supposed to ask these sort of daring questions. And if there's data to back it up, then let's consider it together. Great stuff. Appreciate you, James. Anything to add real quick? And we'll go to the Roberts.
Yeah, just that I think that should be done more, and we should ask the questions, and if there is nothing, then move on, but still at least ask the questions anyway. Not just us, but scientists as well.
Exactly right. Exactly right. It is easy for us to, because, I get the ridicule anyway. But beyond that, a scientist kind of sticks their neck out sometimes to ask some questions that they're not supposed to ask. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you know about these vanishing stars, and what about this new study? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. The Roberts, welcome to the joint. How you doing, sir? Go right ahead. Test 1 2. The Roberts, are you there? Everything looks good on my end. You're unmuted. Yeah, there you go. Try that again. Unmute. Test. The Roberts, are you there? Nope, nothing. If you want to, a couple things, you could either restart Discord and try again, or if you want to call back on the phone line, that'll work too. Yeah, live shows, huh? Live shows. Okay, I'm going to read this a little bit. If you just talk, if you cut in, I'll shut up and it's all yours. Yeah. Okay. So back to the write-up. Now, this is very good. Like I said, so high strangeness, as we left off, a term coined by astronomer and UFO researcher J. Allen Hynek, describes events that possess such bizarre characteristics they resist conventional explanation, while simultaneously containing multiple layers of absurdity that prevent easy dismissal as mere misidentification, as we were talking about. The Palomar transits embody this concept perfectly. They are documented on scientific instruments, analyzed with rigorous methodology, yet they behave in ways that shouldn't be possible. Consider that what we're actually seeing. Star-like points of light captured on photographic emulsion during exposures lasting 30 to 50 minutes that weren't there before and won't be there after. Natural astronomical objects obviously don't behave in this way. Stars don't blink in and out of existence. Meteors leave trails. Satellites didn't exist yet. Aircraft would show movement across a long exposure. Yet here they are, frozen in time, defying categorization. Let's go back to the Roberts. I think maybe we're good. I'm not sure what happened if you had a thing and then a thing. And the Robert in Virginia, Pennsylvania. You're on Troubled Minds. How you doing, sir? Go right ahead. Nothing. Yep. Live shows. Yep. Try the phone line if you're into it. Sorry about that. Nothing. Still nothing. We know Discord works because it was working for James. So there's we can rule that out.
So far, working for James.
Yes. Hey. Why are you going to jinx yourself? Test.
No,
one.
that's protecting myself.
Okay.
Sorry.
I see. No, you're good. You're good. The Roberts, nothing. I see that there's like a camera icon, but no. Yeah, unmute. Okay, just call back on the phone line, however you want to do that. But okay, so back to this now, and that becomes the bizarre part of this. Like I said, so long exposures lasting 30 to 50 minutes is where they found these initially, and were put into these again. What are they? Photographic emulsion. So we're talking about glass plates, and like I said, could there be some sort of contamination effect? Yeah, maybe. Could it be all these other things we talked about, the space dust and some other things, which they took into account? I'm sure they're not just piping off, kind of saying, "Oh, peer review my thing," and it's ridiculous. So how weird does it get? It really becomes the question. The Roberts. Okay, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Robert, give us a call on the phone line, and we'll get you on the show. Sorry about all the issues there. I don't know what's happening, but what can you do? I can't magically wave the wand and fix it. Anyway, so the alignment phenomenon adds another layer of impossibility. Random cosmic ray strikes on photographic plates should scatter randomly. Dust particles or emulsion effects might create false stars, but they wouldn't arrange themselves in geometric patterns, or the bizarreness of this. The researchers found multiple cases where transients appeared in straight lines or narrow bands, a configuration that has no ready explanation in conventional astronomy. And like I said, this write-up is very good. It kind of goes through the entirety of what this is. And it's, like I said, it's mind-boggling. It's one of those things that kind of makes you pause and go, wait, what do we really know about the nature of reality itself? We've got a nice framework, okay, the scientific method and all those things, right? Thousands of years of human observation. However, why is this so bizarre in terms of what we're seeing and what we know? Seems very different, doesn't it? 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thank you for calling back. The Roberts, you're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? All yours, go right ahead.
Oh, I'm fine. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. No complaints out of me. I'm just hanging out, talking about wild ideas with my friends. What you got, my man?
Well, I think I might be able to actually add some wildness to it. There are planets without suns. And I'm thinking that maybe it's possible that these suns that disappear, they disappear because some advanced civilization whose own sun is dying lasso a sun that another sun and take it back to their solar system.
Okay, all right. So planets without suns, I like it. With I guess how close they would have to be could be maybe 1 million light years or something, or you know what I mean, something like that. Maybe they're not as close as we think because it's still just a twinkle in the night sky.
Well, look at our own sun. There's no proof that our own sun is native to our solar system.
Okay. Yeah, maybe the old Tatooine sun thing, the two suns from Star Wars. Maybe they had one that kind of got kicked out a long time ago. I mean, that's very possible, and it's probably happened not just possibly here, but clearly elsewhere. It's happened for sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, in 5 billion years, when our sun is finally on its last legs, maybe our civilization has advanced enough that it could, overcome relativity and speed through the universe, and with some technology, move another sun back into the solar system to replace the sun we have. Why not?
All right, I like the wild idea. Do you expect any kind of scientific validation of this? What do you think will happen during the peer review process of this paper?
I think that they're gonna really have to reconsider that there was some anomalies. I don't know how to say that word. That they may have gotten dots of light from other things that were flying around, like airplanes, things. Maybe not, and maybe that I think that the only thing that makes sense, like you said, we have supernovas, we have red dwarfs, these things that naturally occur to stars. All right, and the only explanation I can come up with, in my own way of thinking, is that for stars to vanish like that, they have to have been moved.
Yeah, which seems the impossible part, because if we're talking about actual planetary level or sized objects or greater stars in that regard, that seems even more ridiculous. Because think about it, if they were moving, let's say firing across some random rogue star shooting across the cosmos, which supposedly does happen as part of that scenario of a binary star system kind of getting thrown out of whack, and then one gets kicked off into space. These things do happen out there in the greater cosmos. So you would still see it on the 30 to 50 minute actual scan of this. And so that becomes the weird part, because they were completely stationary, and then now they're completely gone. So we're dealing with what seems to be magic here. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, they were stationary in 1950. All right, and that's the photographs that they're going by. We're talking about 50 or more years later, and they're saying, where's those stars that's in those 1950 photographs, or however they were taken? And the answer is that they're not there anymore. And the question is, what happened to them? It doesn't rule out that they were moved.
Right. Just that we can't see them now, which is a little more spooky.
Right. But they may have been moved, 1 million light years, out, beyond. We might be seeing, with the Webb telescope, we might be seeing stars that didn't exist there, when that didn't exist at that particular place, that were moved from another place.
Okay, I'm following you. Which again stands to reason for a lot of different sort of angles here. But one of them in particular is that ancient astronaut theorists say yes. Do you think that maybe the zoo hypothesis comes into this as part of the idea that these things were out there maybe watching us, and now they've cloaked themselves like you described? Maybe they're still there. We just don't see them now because they don't want to be seen. What about that?
Well, if you don't want to be seen, I'm sure you won't be seen. If you make up your mind you don't want to be seen, there you are. See, you're vanished right now.
Yeah, true that. Especially when you talk technology, yeah. And
right.
Yeah, when you talk to technology in that regard of advanced technology, clearly they got to have some kind of cloaking device. Again, assuming that would be what we're dealing with here. But yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Well, that's probably where we got our stealth technology with the B-1 bomber. We probably got that off of any salvaged UFO craft from Roswell on. All right, sure, they've had the ability to. The idea of a civilization that has existed without any disruption, let's say, for billions of years, not being advanced enough to be able to move things that they want to move from one part of the universe to another. That sounds like something that's very real to me, that they would have that ability.
Yeah. Again,
if our sun started to go crazy and started to die, and we managed to survive 5 billion more years, if we had the technology, do you not think that we would grab a sun from someplace else and bring it here?
Yeah, well, if we could sort of conquer those distances, absolutely, and maybe that's what's coming. Maybe we're going to start dragging these things in, 10,000 years from now or something. Maybe we'll be able to do that type of stuff, which makes sense, especially we talk about that acceleration of our own technology and AI and all that stuff. So I don't know, a lot of ways to look at it, and maybe, as usual, right? Maybe drinking the maybe juice here. What else you got?
Well, that's it. And also they don't really. Did they give an estimated number on the stars that are missing from 1950?
Yes, it's in the write-up here. One moment. Hold on. Yes, I'll get you that answer in just a second. I've got so much material here to go through. But yeah, there is sort of a rough number. So here you go. The shocking find: over 100,000 transient events. And that 3.9 significance. So that's what they were originally looking for, the vanishing stars as part of it. So there's a ton of stuff happening outside of just the vanishing stars, at least conceptually. And so, here we are.
So either these stars have been moved, or they didn't exist at all. And somehow their telescope got fooled. My personal belief is that there's definitely civilizations in the universe that are so far advanced, they literally can do anything, and not just move planets, but move suns. And that would be my best guess is what's going on there. That those 100,000 or so stars that are missing were just transported somewhere else to provide heat for another planetary system.
Yeah, I wonder.
That was losing their own.
Yeah, I wonder because clearly that would be an anomalous event to us, and we're looking at this again 75 years later, basically, kind of going through that old data. So who knows? I imagine we're going to find some other bizarre things, let's say in another 75 years, that will probably spook us again, or continually and still. So yeah, maybe. That type of technology might exist in sort of the larger cosmos that we have not really became part of yet. Back to that sort of that Star Trek future. Yeah, absolutely. I love where your head's at, and maybe drinking the maybe juice. Do you remember anything from the Sputnik era?
I remember people being very scared when from that little ball that was in the sky back then, and that's what precipitated the space race. Under Kennedy, I remember that. But it really was nothing but a beeping ball that was circling the Earth. It was nothing really all that spectacular to us today. But to the people from back then, all right, it was a marvel, that kind of technology, all right? And I would think that we, as living in today's world, can even imagine what sensitive civilizations that are billions of years ahead of us are capable of doing, including moving stars.
Well said.
If they're, when it comes to life, whether it's human life or it's alien life, all lives want their number one trigger is survival. And if they we know in advance that 5 billion years from now, approximately, our sun's going to die. It's going to flare up and cook the Earth, all right, and then may become a red dwarf. We know that in advance, and we can and we have 5 billion years to prepare for it. And the survival instinct will kick in always, all right, and probably maybe a billion years before it happens, all right, we accelerate the technology to be able to send our sun into some sort of interstellar landfill and bring a new one in.
Yeah. Well said. And this type of stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
Or somehow ignite Jupiter, which is nothing but a sun that never, it's a sun that never flared up. Ignite Jupiter, which is just a second sun that just never flared up, into a new sun. But I personally think that it's quite possible. It's the only thing that, for me, that makes sense, that suns don't just vanish. All right, they go through what you said earlier, the realistic thing of becoming dwarfs, supernovas, but they don't just vanish. All right, and so the only thing that makes sense to me is somebody moved them.
Okay, I'm in. I love the wild ideas.
Maybe there's a whole industry out there in interstellar space. All right, because they call up, hey, look, our sun's going bad here. We need you to take and bring a new one in and take the old one out.
DoorDash for sun. DoorDash for suns.
Yeah. I would buy stock in that company.
Okay, as would I. I think that's probably a very nice service for the cosmos at large. And why not, right? Why not? Again, given a Kardashev 3 civilization, that type of stuff does become viable. So yeah, I mean, why not? Absolutely, why not? They're just moving around and we're like, oh, we don't recognize it yet. Imagine when we do recognize something like that and kind of get to the bottom of this. Yeah, time to buy stock in that company.
And there's not just, and it's not just for the reason that their own sun is dying. We look at our own solar system, and they see a possibility there of life, and all it's lacking is a sun, so they move a sun in there, and just the right place, the third planet from the sun spawns life.
The old panspermia, directed panspermia, and even more than that, some actual shenanigans with some playing billiards with the suns. Shout out on YouTube, whoever said that, smart comment there. That was Desric, I believe. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm into it. Maybe that's what's happening here. And if you find a line on that cosmic company, let me know, because I'm buying stock in that too.
Yeah, Earth sun in the corner pocket.
There you go. 100%. You're the best, brother. Thanks for jumping through the hoops and getting back on the phone line. And thanks for the call. Always a pleasure. Appreciate you very much. And we'll talk to you soon. Have a great night.
Okay. Good night.
Thanks a lot. You know we love him. That's the Robert. Again, a not just a dear friend for a long time, a mentor of ours, not just mine, but all the rest of us as well. Go check out his book. Links in the description, troubledminds.org/friends. It's called Stories from a Fractured Mind, the Robert Collection. Scroll down. It's going to be under The Roberts, because, of course, that's his writer's name. Let me get my big head out of the way. And there it is, The Robert on the bottom down there. And please go give him a follow. That's the whole point of doing this, is to meet people, to learn new ideas, to kind of consider things that are off the beaten path. And I've described his book. He did send me a couple copies. Again, full disclosure, he doesn't pay me to say his book is good. It just is. And it reminds me of Rod Serling meets little Philip K. Dick, kind of like that. A very troubled mindsy type stuff. And there's a little bit of Lovecraft in there. I mean, there's something for everybody, that's for sure. But yeah, fire stuff. Appreciate the call. You were the best. Thanks for jumping through the hoops and calling back on the phone line. James, anything on the rest of that? I see you on the phone line, Theo. I don't want to shortchange you. Wait till after the break, and then we'll go to Theo. But James, anything to add there with what the Robert said, or anything else come to mind?
Yeah, a quote came to mind, actually, and I put it in the chat. Any sufficiently advanced technology would appear indistinguishable from magic, and I butchered that, but the idea that technology could look like magic, and magic is something that we've heard about from ancient times. And it just makes me think of that. I was talking about that with Jen, the Arcane Observer, on my show on Saturday, and this whole topic here tonight just reminds me of that, as Robert described, just on a massive, I guess you could say, cosmic scale. And with how hard it is to find information or to figure out things out in distant space and far off space, then it seems like it'd be fairly easy to keep things hidden from us as of now. So that wouldn't surprise me if things could be moved around using means that we just don't have yet.
Yeah, the technology space, especially with the acceleration, we're always talking about that quickening. Yeah, I mean, a lot of maybes there, but I dig it. And back to the story of the mirrors glinting. You know what it also reminds me of? I'm sure you've seen this back in the old days, Superman 2. They had that glinting mirror, right? But it was sort of a prison for those three fugitives from, was it Krypton, right? And so they had imprisoned them in these things, and they were kind of flowing through space. And then, right, Superman saved through a rocket into space, and it blew up and let them out. Imagine something like that, where they were kind of something, just maybe these portals to some other places encapsulated in glass, like a flat pane of glass, just chilling, and maybe us doing, and this is one of the theories too, as part of it, some of the woo theories, the Starfish Prime and us sort of launching nukes in the sky, maybe started cracking these things open. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, I mean, the idea of that's the whole mirror concept in a way, except for just at a huge scale again, where they seem to be, at least in paranormal accounts here, there's reports of all kinds of things coming through and going into mirrors in people's buildings, in their homes. Now, if you make a giant mirror, like let's say a giant crystal, a giant mass of stone, even stones do have energy, rocks and everything, then yeah, I could see that completely, and even possibly being portals to other versions of the universe as well.
Yeah, why not, right? Why not? As long as we're considering all the options and all the wild ideas, let's throw that one into the buckets. Maybe the Superman panes of glass were cracked open by Starfish Prime and some of the other things they were doing with the nuclear testing. I don't really know. I do know I live in Vegas, and in the 50s and into the 60s and even into the 90s, they were blowing up nukes out here in the desert. Yeah. Super weird.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's going to be fine. If I start growing an arm out of my back, you'll know what happened. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Love to hear your thoughts. We got Theo and Philly coming up and your calls as well. What happened to these missing stars? More Troubled Minds coming up. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand on the Underground Media Network. Tonight, we're talking about this bizarre synchronicity and, of course, this odd scientific discovery of the curious case of the missing stars. We've talked about this in the past. Now, not only is a paper being written on this, the multiple transient events and the first Palomar sky survey back in the 1950s, but there's this odd synchronicity where this was going down right around the same time as this 1952 Washington, D.C. UFO flap, which is massively famous in ufology. This is something people talk about all the time because, again, this is pre-satellite. Remember, 1957 was the first Sputnik satellite that went up. And so this in particular makes you wonder what the hell was actually happening. And now we're looking at these transient events that might seem as if they are reflective material of just an object chilling out there, maybe watching us. But now they're gone. We go back and look and they have literally quite literally vanished. So what the hell does that mean? I don't know. And this is, again, one of those modern curiosities of where science meets discovery and mysticism and all those things. What does it mean? I don't know. That's why we're talking about it. Anything, James? And we'll go to Theo in Philly.
Just, I'm always trying to squeeze in thoughts here there at the end of the segment, but I wanted to say great call from Robert as well. And yeah, I've been thinking about the idea of some kind of a vessel, some kind of a spaceship, the whole time as well. And the funny thing with that is Fort was thinking about that kind of possibility before the term UFO or spaceship ever was really around. So pretty amazing there as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so what does it mean? How weird does this get? And is this really when we sort of run into the idea of disclosure? What if this is the findings of these anomalies are so bizarre that we have to change the way we think about the world we live in? Right? Maybe. Also, maybe not. I'd love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Theo in Philly. Thanks for being patient, my man. You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
Oh, I'm doing quite well. How is my audio?
Loud and clear. You sound fantastic. Welcome to the joint.
Dude, I love this topic so much. Just stars disappearing. There's something so vaguely dissettling about that. The fact that you can look up at the night sky and slowly watch those little tiny patches of light disappear and kind of like have no idea why that's happening.
It's amazing. And we have talked about this a few times for that exact reason, but now the science is digging into it and trying to get some answers here, which I'm super excited about. I hope they give it a fair shake in peer review. What else you got? Theories or anything else on the peer review process or whatever else? You're right. This is very sort of Cthulhu-esque unsettling in terms of like the greater cosmos for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, are you excited about that? Like, could there be a good possible reason for the stars to disappear?
Yeah, we've listed a couple, and I think let's just say, for instance, throw one out. I think let's say we're being watched by the Galactic Federation, like the actual Galactic Federation. Again, theory crafting here, like Star Trek, because they have what's it called, the Prime Directive, right? Where they're not supposed to interfere, but they watch. So, I mean, imagine if that actually exists out there somewhere, and this was part of their sort of protocol of watching us, that from when we get technologically advanced enough that maybe first contact does happen. I mean, that could be a very, very good thing, right?
No, I mean, fair enough. I was going to bring up another sci-fi series. Have you ever heard of Lex? L-E-X-X?
No, never heard of it.
And it is my favorite Canadian low-budget sci-fi series of all time.
They had me a Canadian.
Everything else out of the water. Dude, I think it was like on Showtime, but it was like back before Showtime was good. Like this was in, I think, like 1997 or 1998, when like 3D computer animation graphics were first coming out. The entire premise of the show is like it's in space and they are on like a living starship that is a bug, and it's just really weird and very, very kitschy and very low budget, but like simultaneously like one of the best series I've ever watched, just because it's everything I need from sci-fi. But in season 2, and I'm gonna try to like not give out spoilers here, one of the main villains is this hyper genius who has these self-replicating drones, and these low-budget, self-replicating drones, the way the Canadian television portrays them, they're just like arms that fly around, like literally like disembodied arms. At least that's how they portrayed them. And they have like nanobots inside, but one of the main plot points, and I guess I am going to give out some spoilers, but they can self-replicate, and towards the end of season 2, they start like feeding off of suns, various stars, and self-replicating. So the entire the entire sky just slowly starts to get dark. And I don't know, it's just like one of the creepiest, coolest concepts I've ever heard of in my life.
Yeah, I love it. Raz says Lex was awesome talking about the bug ships over there. So you're not alone in seeing this. And I can remember a time too.
It was.
Real quick, I can remember a time back in the early '80s where Showtime used to be good too. So maybe they were good and then got bad and then they got good again or whatever. But what I mean is that it used to be just Karate Kid and Lethal Weapon reruns. So you know how much better do we get to that?
I mean, Karate Kid and Lethal Weapon, those are both great too. Although, fun fact, I'm not sure if it's actually a fun fact, but the Dutch actor who played the main villain in Lex Season 2 is also the same Dutch actor that played the main villain in The Human Centipede, Dieter Laser. He's like a great actor, but is really good at playing like preposterously inhumane humans. R.I.P. Dieter Laser. But yeah.
Right on. Yeah. I'll have to add that to the list of things that one day when I retire, I'll just watch end to end and I will be complete. But yeah, it sounds like a good one to me.
Series.
Okay. And also real quick too, no, you're good. You're good. As part of that, you're bringing up something that I am familiar with. I've seen Stargate SG-1. Shout out if you guys have seen that. If not, there's something in there called the replicators. Have you ever seen that? And does it make sense? Is there a nice parallel with what you just described?
No, I've actually not seen that, although people keep on telling me, what are the replicators, and should I watch that series?
I think you should. It's pretty good. It's very Troubled Minds. And back in when it was early aughts when they created it, I didn't watch it then. I was like, really, MacGyver and like a space thing? Stop it. Get out of here. And so I never watched it. When I finally went back and watched it, I was like, and this was probably like, 3 years ago? I mean, I kind of like, we're talking to you guys as I was watching them. I'd lay down on the couch after the show and turn one on and fall asleep or whatever, right? And so I watched them in fragmented pieces, but I thought it was very good. It was very well done, and the acting was great, and the characters were compelling, and they had these weird stargates where they popped around, and it was like this. We lived in this ancient cosmos that humans were just learning about, and there were these alien dramas and takeovers and all kinds of stuff that the humans were always fighting against. I thought it was good. I never saw the additionals, but Stargate SG-1, I do recommend it. And the replicators are basically, think of the von Neumann probes. We've talked about them as these sort of the small things that are self-replicating, and they take whatever they can get, whatever raw materials they can get, replicate themselves, and then sort of seed themselves into the galaxy, right? Which is how we would expect to sort of seed ourselves, at least technologically, out into the cosmos. But in this case, they were like little bugs, like figure the size of like a volleyball or something with legs. And these things would eat anything. So they would eat a spaceship and repurpose the parts of the spaceship to create more replicators, right? And so it was, whether it was raw materials, technology, and the better the technology, the more dangerous the replicators became, because then they were, nanotech and all kinds of wild stuff. But yeah, that's the short version. And they come in way later, like in season 6 or 7 or something. So do watch it.
No, I'll have to watch that.
Okay, but does that sound similar to what you're describing from Lex there?
Yeah, no, that's exactly like similar. I mean, like I would say that, the von Neumann probes, the Mantrid drones from Lex, the Borg from Star Trek, they all kind of like have the same concept where they will absorb and recreate anything given enough matter to create from. But yeah, like I love that concept so much. It's such a scary dystopian idea, but yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's also like oddly realistic. Like, I think that if our technology does progress enough to that point, no matter how kitschy our perception of it is from 1990s or 2000 sci-fi, like I think that's a realistic worry that we should worry about at some point.
Yeah, I think so too. It's I don't know. It's a weird thing. This whole thing is incredibly weird because we're looking at, again, data, we're looking at science, and we're looking at something spooky all at the same time. And that high strangeness comes into this conversation. I don't know. What else you got on it? What would be your take on this for maybe the most tame thing here and maybe the most wild thing? I don't know. There's a ton of ways to look at this, of course.
I mean, I got nothing else. There is a good Isaac Asimov story about all the stars going out at night, but I don't want to spoil that because I would butcher it if I were to attempt to retell it. I do have a short poem, though.
Okay, great. Love to hear the short poem.
All right, let's see if I can not butcher the meter on this, but all right, here goes. Mirrors and glass and into the light, out of the sky and into the night. A firmament cracked, a Pink Floyd planetarium left intact, a Neil deGrasse Tyson yet to be smacked. A star above, a universe below, and all my homies watching on the Troubled Minds show.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's Theo, the official poet of Troubled Minds. Thanks for bringing the rhymes tonight. Fantastic as always. Can we share your Substack yet? I have it. I know it.
No, don't do that. It's not good, but thank you for offering, though. I always appreciate that.
Okay, let me know when you're ready. We will share your Substack. Thank you for the call. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being you. Always a pleasure, my man.
Toodles.
Have a great night. You don't know them. Theo in Philly, the official poet of Troubled Minds. And again, how do you become the official anything of Troubled Minds? Like I've always said, you just call and you do a thing, and then it just becomes a thing. And then James is the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds. We got Derek, the official synchro mystic of Troubled Minds. We got Theo in Philly, the official poet of Troubled Minds. What are you? Where do you fit in here? You got a unique take somehow, some way. That's why we get together and talk about these ideas. Give me a call. Let's do it. And we'll talk about all manner of wild things. Anything on that, James? We got Herschel. You're up next because Derek's bottom of the hour. So we'll go to Herschel next. Just a heads up so I don't sneak up on you. James, anything on what Theo said? And then we'll go to Herschel.
Yeah, it's amazing. Great call from Theo. It's amazing how sci-fi just keeps on being relevant and predicting things, even when it's just supposed to be, just a story, just fiction. And I love the whole mirror and light and reflection aspect of all this. It's just, I never thought about that on a sort of a cosmic scale until tonight. So that's really amazing.
Yeah, tons of stuff here. And that, again, something watching us has always really kind of been on my mind as part of these conversations when it comes to, aliens or the zoo hypothesis or this type of stuff. I mean, I don't think it's, let's say it would be trivial for an advanced civilization to hide themselves from us. And that's why when people say I saw a UFO or, I got evidence, I got a video or this type of stuff, I got to wonder if they're messing with us, because we're probably at the point where we can move into other, let's say foreign airspace and not be detected, be completely quiet, be completely stealth. So if we're doing that and sort of in the infancy of that technology, then obviously the aliens would be like, no, we can move around with impunity, not be seen, not be detected, because of course, if we were, then we'd have problems. And, don't Los Angelinos, don't shoot at the UFOs. You'll spark an interstellar war. Yeah, don't do that. but that becomes the larger question here. I don't know. What do you guys think? We're talking about the Palomar anomalies tonight, when the stars shouldn't vanish, and yet they are. It's 75 years on, 1950-ish. And what about the synchronicity of this bizarre thing in the 1952 UFO flap in Washington, D.C. that seems to coincide pretty well with the Palomar Sky Survey? So something here or not? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Herschel in Arizona. Commercial Herschel, what's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? You're good at so many things. You're the official Herschel of Troubled Minds, I guess. What's up, brother? Welcome to the joint.
I'm however you want to define me. It's your show.
Herschel is the man of Troubled Minds. The man. All right, all yours, brother. What's on your mind
tonight? We've talked about these types of things before. And we've come across this topic of like the different the frequencies that we are only sometimes able to perceive, and other times we're not. And I've read stories like the people looking at the swimming pool at a different angle and stuff like that. And I've got several stories like that go in that like direction, like. And I have this essay that I'm going to read, and if you don't mind, and it's like, this is one of the things where I started it out as a rambly recording, just talking into my recorder, and then I transcribed it with a I put in a transcription software, and then I started refining it. So it went from like 4,000 words, and it's down to like 2,600 words now. So it's a refinement of things that ideas that you and I have discussed on your show before, and also some new ideas.
Perfect. Love to hear it. Let's go.
And it has to be, and the thing that made me want to read it was I read your entire write-up. And I'm like, okay, like you're talking about things appearing and disappearing and maybe being there and maybe not being there and blah, blah, blah. So
the write-up's good, right?
Everything everything that Theo said, what the Robert said, like this goes in, it's in line with it. So it's about aliens, but we can think about it as the Palomar situation or the plasma balls or whatever, like it's so many things. So it's alien avoidance on our coinciding plane. That is the title of the essay. Do beings from other frequencies coexist with us? The visible light spectrum and beyond. The visible light spectrum, as defined by ThoughtCo, is the segment of electromagnetic spectrum humans can perceive, ranging from approximately 400 to 700 nanometers, encompassing the colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. This spectrum, also known as the optical spectrum of white light, is just a small fraction of the full electromagnetic spectrum. The University of Tennessee explains that shorter wavelengths and higher frequencies include ultraviolet light, X-rays, and gamma rays, while longer wavelengths and lower frequencies encompass infrared light, microwaves, and radio waves. The edges of the visible spectrum blend into ultraviolet and infrared radiation, revealing a broader reality beyond human perception. As scientists develop tools to peer into these other spectrum, they uncover phenomena invisible to the naked eye, beings in unseen frequencies. Some entities we label as aliens may not be extraterrestrial, but rather coexist on Earth in frequencies beyond our visible spectrum. These beings could be composed of light or energy that we cannot naturally perceive, much like how we radiate energy invisible to ourselves. Calling them aliens may be a misnomer if they originate from this plane of existence. Their presence might go unnoticed because their frequency differs from ours, yet they share our same physical space. Materialism and monism, a philosophical framework. Materialism, a monistic philosophy, posits that all things, thought, frequencies, light, space, and time are matter. Monism views reality as stemming from a singular essence, unlike dualism, which sees a division between consciousness and matter. Picture the yin-yang symbol. A dualist focuses on the yin and the yang, while a monist sees the encompassing circle. Monism allows for duality, the emergence of multiple forms from the singular form, but rejects dualism's separation. You've heard of the Internet of Things. Well, we live in the consciousness of things already. We were first. The Internet of Things is a copy. In this view, unseen light, like the 5G signals connecting devices, is matter, as are the beings that we might call aliens. Their existence as matter in a different frequency explains why we don't perceive them consistently. They may seem to appear and disappear, but it's not clear that they do that. Emotional sensitivity and interaction. These beings may possess heightened emotional sensitivity, feeling human emotions like fear or tension with a far greater intensity. Imagine walking into a room and sensing eyes on you. Multiply that sensation by thousands. If humans react with fear upon encountering these beings, the intensity could be overwhelming for them, akin to a form of pain. The sensitivity might explain their avoidance of interaction, like a skinless body exposing bones and organs. What we perceive of these beings is not their outer form, but an internal essence, visible only because their true frequency eludes us. Attempting to touch them would be like reaching into their core or touching their inner organs, further discouraging their desire to be in contact with us. The observer effect and coexistence. The observer effect, where observation alters the behavior of particles, suggests that these beings are highly sensitive to being watched. When we spot a craft in low Earth orbit streaking across the sky, they may sense our gaze just as we feel theirs. This mutual awareness mirrors how wildlife, like raccoons or deer, avoids humans due to perceiving us as predators. Different types of consciousness, human, animal, or these beings, coexist on Earth but operate in distinct worlds. Just as we don't live among wildlife, these beings have little reason to integrate with us, existing in a frequency we can't access, or at least we can't fully access. The conclusion, redefining aliens. Rather than alien visitors, these beings may be or may have been native to Earth, existing in frequencies beyond our perception. Their avoidance could stem from their sensitivity to our emotions and the incompatibility of our respective existences. As humans don't live among wildlife or other species, these beings have no need to integrate with us. Their presence in an unseen spectrum doesn't make them alien. It suggests a richer, more complex plane of existence we're only beginning to understand. And good for them. For further exploration, consider R.D. Laing's The Politics of Experience, or Discussions on AI and Consciousness, which touch on related themes of perception and reality. And Finn. Yeah, okay, and there's a ton there, and I think you're right. As part of the core aspect of that, in my opinion, is that we're always doing this too as part of our conversations. Like you said, you and I have talked about this in the past, and we'll continue to talk about this, is reframing what alien means. James says it all the time too, not just because it just means different. And so suddenly, when you start to look at this in a different light, I think reframing aliens entirely for the human space, for all of planet Earth, really becomes the next frontier. And I think we should consider it quite a bit more. Fire stuff. I love that. What else you got? Well, I think that this relates to the discussion of the Palomar phenomenon. Because, I mean, I don't know. I remember one time I was looking at the Big Dipper, and I can't remember the name of the star, but it was the bottom right-hand star of the Big Dipper, and it was throbbing. And I'd never seen a star that I've looked at a million times throb. I mean, it was like pulsing, you know, and it has never done it since. I've only seen that happen once. So these anomalous things where these stars disappeared, like what might have been there might still be there. What might have been there might have been a reflection, like was suggested, or they may have been supernovas that just are done now. Like we just don't, like there's obviously no way to know, but I think that we know that light bends. We know that that theoretically, and it is being experimented with, the concept of bending space. There could have been another anomaly in another place that kind of bent space and like put the image of those stars in that spot for a while, and then that space bent out, you know, and then they went back to where they belonged. There's so many. I got the music. I'm going to take off. Thanks for having my call.
You're the best. Appreciate the call. Thanks for reading that essay. Fire as always. That's Herschel, the official man of Troubled Minds. I'll tell you all about it when we get back. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. We got more from James. We got Derek the Night Stalker and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight we're talking the Palomar Anomalies, when the stars shouldn't vanish. And again, this is a scientific paper brought to you by Beatriz Villarroel of Stockholm University and friends. She's got some all 15 authors of this. Links are in the description. Go give her a follow on Twitter X. It's at Dr. BEAVILLORROEL. Links are in the description. Please do that. But look, basically the Palomar Sky Surveys were in the 50s, and they found all these amazing things. And now we're going back 75 years later and double checking, and there's missing stars, which has been covered, a little bit here and there in the mainstream stuff, in the mainstream space over the last couple of years. But now she's finding that there's these anomalies, transient anomalies, she's calling them, that are actually possibly, she's saying, think mirrors or glass, like reflective things just chilling out there that we detected as stars initially. And now looking back on them, they might be, I don't know, what would that be? As we were saying, sort of that the idea of the prime directive maybe coming into play as we start to get into the space age of human space age, that maybe they kind of cloaked those things watching us. I don't know. What do you think? How deep does that get? How weird is it? A lot of ways to look at this, and that's exactly the point. Anything on that, James? And we'll go to Derek the Night Stalker.
Yeah, great call from Herschel. I was just thinking too about how you have lens caps for cameras. What if those are just giant cameras, and the lens caps were put on? In other words, some giant opaque object was just slid over these things, and that's why they're gone. And just regarding the prime directive thing, there is, that's a good idea and a good possibility. But also then if you would put in all you factor in all the UFOs and everything seen around the planet, all the experiences people have been having for who knows how long, then it makes you wonder, is there really a prime directive? But also, the prime directive, they would watch, but they would also usually try to get close to the civilization to see how far along they were. And that didn't always go well in the Star Trek series. There were mistakes made more than a few times, and but it's just making me think now. Is it that mistakes are being made, or is it that they just don't care? And it's sort of the opposite of the prime directive. They can do whatever they want, and it doesn't matter if we see them, because obviously, as a civilization, we have not decided that aliens exist.
Indeed. And the debate rages heavily. Well said, all that. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Just like this. Derek in Massachusetts. The Night Stalker. What's going on, my man? How you doing tonight? Thanks for popping in here. I know you said you're busy at work. I appreciate that very much. What do you got? This is, again, we've talked about this a number of times. But now suddenly we have legitimate scientists kind of backing us up, our wild ideas at least, and looking into this a little deeper. What's your take, the official synchro mystic of Troubled Minds, speaking of official folks of Troubled Minds?
Yeah. Well, we're very short-handed tonight. I got my work cut out for me once I hang up this phone call. So I apologize in advance for sounding so scrambled, and this is probably not my best idea going in. But the main reason why I wanted to call is going to tie into VOs, but it's like, it's out there for sure. So a little more down to earth first, like my initial idea when the show first started. And I think kind of what we talked about a little bit on the first time, a few years ago when we kind of talked about the missing stars a little bit, was some kind of like communication, some kind of message. And that's the kind of the three-body problem thing. Some kind of like shock to the system or shock to the nature of reality. Some kind of like, whoa, like communication to us, and potentially like, if it is a message, maybe we'll have AI figure it out at some point. Like, if there is some kind of like you mentioned, again, I'm like really busy at work, but you mentioned like some lines or geometric patterns or shapes or whatever that might be not discernible to us, but maybe eventually we get some good mathematicians on it, like in three-body problem, or the AI can crunch the numbers for us, or this is just the initial piece of the data. And when we do another type of survey in a few years, we'll notice more different patterns, and then if we have enough different surveys, then we'll notice like forming an alphabet, or we'll notice a message. But right now we kind of just have the the initial letter, so it's not really a message yet, or whatever. But just like it could be. Right now, we have kind of our sky watching done by some amateur sky watchers, by NASA, by the powers that be to a certain extent. But for pretty much the entire course of humanity, the elites, the priest classes of the time, the most kind of important people were just like a priesthood that was watching the sky, like a priesthood that was sky watching and just mapping it out and just chronicling it all over generations and generations and generations. And you form astrology, you form the I Ching, these crazy, wild things that you need to have generations and thousands of years of data in order to form. So maybe the origin of that, obviously there's as above, so below. If you know the sky, you know the ground, you know like the internal processes and stuff. But also, what if there was like somebody was told somewhere, whether in a psychedelic state or by actual ancient aliens or whatever, hey, like we're taking off now, or we're not there yet, or we're on our way, like Three Body Problem style, or whatever. We'll be there in a few thousand years, but like keep an eye on the sky for the next message. Like maybe they got a first message, a wild kind of visions in the sky thousands of years ago, and they're like, hey, by the way, part 2 of the message is going to be happening in the sky, so like written in the stars, so keep an eye out for it. And for generations they did that, came out with all these patterns. Right now we're kind of in a low point at that, or at least like we've kind of put that into the hands of others. It's not really as big in the culture anymore, so we don't really remember that, the importance of it. But this is the message that we wait for. What do you think?
Yeah, I dig that. And especially since, again, we're kind of stumbling on this again, and it's 75 years removed from when they actually did the initial survey. And so who knows what kind of stuff is continually and constantly changing with that regard. And our technology is always changing as well. We're doing infrared scans of the sky, and the James Webb Telescope, and the satellites we got out there now, kind of looking at different areas of the cosmos and the different parts of the solar system, the Parker Solar Probe. I mean, there's so much we got going on that I do wonder if that type of thing would actually become maybe this is exactly the way it's always worked. And as you're describing that, we just need to pay attention to how these things are moving or changing. Maybe the patterns are as easily as just tracking the stars in the sky. And it would make a ton of sense too why the ancients watched so closely and made, star maps written in stone. I mean, I wonder, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's really trippy. Like the big kind of, I don't really want to spoil it. It was kind of spoiled when we had that guest on to talk about Three Body Problem. Because I think he read the books or watched the the original version from China, which goes further than us. But like, so I don't want to give this away. But what was presented in the story of like alien ships that are arriving is not what's coming, and it's more so what we're talking about with like Carl Sagan's Flatlanders and everything, that we're dealing with a Cthulhu-like entity or some kind of thing, like a fifth dimensional entity or something that's beyond, like outside of our realm of existence, and needs to clue us into the fact that they even exist in order for us to like do what they want us to do, basically. Like if they're trapped in a jail cell or whatever, or if they're trapped outside the house and there's like a dog inside the house, like in Pirates of the Caribbean when Jack Sparrow is trying to get the dog to give him the keys so we can get out of the jail. Like the dog's not going to understand that whole process. Hey, you got to open the door for me. Like learn how to stand up and open the door and all that kind of stuff. You have to like over a long period of time, like get the dog's attention. You got to get the dog to move over to you. You got to get the dog to do this and do this. And maybe that's like what kind of all like these cosmic waves were getting sent down. Like send them a cosmic wave, so they build this invention, and then once they build that invention, they'll learn about this, and once they learn about this, they'll figure this out and stuff. And this is just one of those things. Now we have like the technology to notice it. I don't know. But just for the more more wild thing, to touch on what Theo was talking about. Like what if we're in the middle of some kind of like cosmic war between advanced entities, and this is kind of just the only like thing that we kind of really notice. Like do ants notice when humans are in World War III or World War II, unless like their anthill gets blown up? Like if just soldiers are marching to war, do the ants underneath the ground have any kind of understanding of that? And it really only crosses their path when they directly get stepped on by these things. So our sun wasn't like flipped out of existence if that's what's happening. But what if there is kind of a cosmic war that's happening? And the first thing we notice is that the stars that are being blinked out. And then kind of like, what if this DC flap is because someone is trying to get our attention like this, like to look up? That's kind of the point of it, like to see if we're capable, if we notice this thing, if we have the technology to notice, maybe we can be recruited for some kind of interstellar war or whatever. And there's this YouTube channel called Quinn's Ideas, shout out Quinn's Ideas. He just kind of like gives summaries of like high sci-fi, hard sci-fi stuff. And I got into him like all the Dune books. Like he dives into all the Dune books. So we posted one video a couple months ago called the Zeelee sequence, XEELEE sequence, and I didn't really know what it was. I was listening to his Dune stuff, so I kind of just was supposed to take a nap, and I thought it was just going to be like one of the Brian Herbert Dune books that are just like way off the track. So I put it on and it starts mentioning aliens. I'm like, this doesn't seem like it's Dune. There's really no aliens here. But it ended up being really cool, and it's kind of could touch into this. Any thoughts on that? Well, I get a drink, but
yeah. Real quick too, there's this bizarre synchronicity of the Washington flap, and I think I love where your head's at with this, because looking up at the sky. And again, this is pre, or kind of in the infancy of jets. There's no satellites yet, and this became a national thing, like actual national media attention that caught worldwide attention at the time. And so I do wonder. I mean, that's if you're trying to communicate with us, flying over the White House is one way that you would expect people to be like, okay, well, now let's start looking up. And instead, we just start looking down. And the other thing, real quick, I want to mention on the ants.
Yeah, please.
Interestingly, the ants themselves, let's say in terms of a world war or something, like they know when their anthill gets blown up and that's the catastrophe, right? And then they put the pieces back together or whatever, or move or die or whatever they do. But in the same instance, a war or construction to them is the same thing, because their anthill is going to get blown up either way. And one's destroying things and one's actually creating things, but it's still messes up the anthill. So, in that regard too, with ourselves as part of it, how would you recognize what that even looked like in an interstellar sense? You know what I mean? Like I said, love where your head's at per usual.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, like they unless like it was kind of like if the soldiers were marching down the street and kind of there's like a dozen anthills they could possibly step on a few of them in the middle, kind of one in the outskirts is going to feel the rumble. But unless their anthills actually collapse, and they're not going to like necessarily know what's going on, or these things step out right over them, or they see these things, they feel a vibration. Like, do they understand the concept of earthquakes? Maybe they'll think it's an earthquake, but they're just like effects that are happening that they're experiencing that's happening on a plane of existence that they have no frame of reference for, kind of. So what if that's what's happening and involved with like the feeling of suns or the extinguishing of stars, to touch on what Dio was talking about. So this book is called the Zeelee sequence, and I just asked the AI just to give me some like summaries on these exact points that I want to mention, just to save me time, because I was really rushing at work. I don't mean to redo all this reading, but the Zeelee sequence is a series of hard science fiction novels and stories. And this stuff, I haven't touched on it in a few months, but it really blew my mind when I was listening to it. And there's some like, I'm kind of forgetting them now, but there's some cool. What I'm going to talk about is not the cool stuff, but there was really cool things. And what I'm going to talk about is going to sound fantastical, but the book is seemingly so hard sci-fi that at the other end it gets so hard that it almost becomes fantasy. That it's just like such a heady idea that it almost becomes fantastical. But the Zeelee sequence is a series of hard sci-fi novels and stories by Stephen Baxter that explores humanity's future in the universe amidst a vast cosmic conflict between a supremely advanced Zeelee and the dark matter entities known as the Potino birds. So basically, humans are starting to colonize space, and this book takes place over like millions and hundreds of millions, and basically the entire course of humanity, and then the universe as a whole, and like humanity's expansion throughout the universe. So we start to like create Dyson spheres, we start to colonize the galaxy, we start to colonize or the solar system and the galaxy, and yet it like keeps expanding out until we come up to like other cultures, like we have cosmic wars with other cultures and stuff, but then they eventually get so advanced that they realize that there's like a supreme intelligence, something on another plane of existence, something that's like not doesn't have soldiers to battle. They're like a 5D type of society, so to speak. Not technically that, but just like unbelievably advanced that we don't notice them unless we get like somewhere near their level of advancement, that we're not even like close to being able to see them. So, an overview of the Zeeli. Zeeli are a supremely advanced ancient species in the Zeeli sequence by human backs. They possess technology that allows manipulation of space-time, construction of megastructures, and travel through universes. The Photino birds are entities made of dark matter associated with hypothetical photino particles. They inhabit gravity wells of stars and seek to cool the stars by inhibiting nuclear fusion. Humanity discovers the Zeeli through their own expansion into the galaxy and encounters with advanced artifacts or remnants of Zeeli activity. Basically, like they notice like a solar system and is kind of aligned in a weird way that shouldn't be natural. Something like that, like we're talking about, like advanced culture that can blink out the stars potentially to give a message, like something so advanced like that. The details of this discovery are part of the broader narrative exploring humanity's place in the cosmos amidst greater conflicts. The dynamics of the war, the Zeeli-Photino War, the Zeeli are fighting to maintain their control and projects involving supermassive black holes and cosmic structures against the Photino birds' influence. They seek to counter the Photino birds' alteration of stellar evolution. Photino birds' goals aim to alter the evolution of stars across the universe, causing them to cease fusion and become cold, dark remnants. This would shape the universe's future in a way favorable to their existence in dark matter gravity wells. The conflict is on cosmological scale, with both sides employing advanced universe-spanning strategies. The Zeeli use their technology to manipulate space-time and counter Photino birds' actions. Photino birds work to influence stellar evolution. So basically, it's this cosmic war between these two sides. One of them are like super advanced things that kind of live within our realm, and the other is kind of its equivalent, but within the dark matter space. And for the dark matter ones to kind of thrive, their goal is to like have a dark universe. And if that happens, then all life kind of gets blinked out of the universe. So, essentially, I'm like, long story short, kind of, it tracks this like a super advanced AI that ends up in this kind of ends up watching kind of the stars all blink out around him over the course of millions and millions of years until it's kind of alone in this dead universe because these Photino birds killed it so that they can survive in this dark matter universe instead, you know? And just, how would we even comprehend that? We wouldn't notice that at all. Like, if our stars was one of the ones that got blinked out, then we realize it. And now we're just seeing some stars get blinked out off in the distance. Oh, that's kind of weird. I wonder what that is. Like, is that a smudge on the glass? Like, you know, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it kind of reminds me of the war thing you were talking about earlier too. The ants in the war as well. The war analogy. Exactly let's say they were drawing, you know, the power of suns as sort of a reload, as ammunition or something. And so the fight's going on, who knows where, maybe even in a like dimensional space or something. But the way they do it is by drawing the energy from these stars and blinking them out in a short period of time. And so they don't go supernova, they don't go black hole. They are just literally drawn into a power source of a cloaked technology that we would never be able to see anyway. And I mean, surely you could create something like that as a, you know, maybe a, hey, we're here type of thing, like you were describing earlier, sort of like a crop circle in the sky sort of situation. So I don't know, like what the hell is actually happening with it? And there's a ton of ideas flowing through this that I'm digging. I think you're on the game here. And what is that? The name of that again? The series you're talking about?
Yeah, the Zeeli sequence. I'm not sure if it's one book or a series of books, but I'm not even sure what. The AI didn't give me the date of it. But XEELEE, the Zeeli sequence. And yeah, I mean, it's in this case, the battle is literally about the suns. So it's not like it's like using them for fuel or whatever. It's that just like the peak of advancement in like the realm of light, basically, in the observable universe, but like not really observable to us just because they're unbelievably advanced. So basically, like we talk about the galactic octopus at the center of the galaxy that would use panspermia to populate, like imagine an entire civilization of that or more advanced, or whatever. And we don't even notice them until we get like to Dune level of advancement and like just unbelievably advanced. And then we start to notice, oh wow, there's actually something that's above us, like some type of like AI god entity species or whatever. And then they're rivals, I guess, basically, or like another presence is these dark matter like energy bird thing. They call them Photino birds, which sounds kind of like fantasy or whatever, but it's just these entities that are like these I don't know, like how you would even describe them, just like Azathoth, kind of made out of dark matter that can't exist if there's a star there. So they're like basically battling over the stars, trying to blink out all the stars. So if you see a star being blinked out from our perspective, and if you know about the war, it's like, oh, the Zeeli just lost the battle or whatever. And it's been like a few months, so I'm kind of forgetting, but I think basically they were at such an advancement that eventually they realized that a lot of civilizations were just being grown in order to be drafted into this war eventually. So for all we know, the DC flap in the 50s is just kind of the recruitment offers of being like, hey, check on that patch of farmland called Earth and see if those beings have flowered into a usable fighting force that we can conscript into this battle here,
See if they're awake yet. Yeah, I'm reading this. So I'll drop this Zeely sequence, the Wikipedia, in the description, so you guys can check it out if you're into it. This is wild. Just real fast. So it's a intergalactic war with an enigmatic and supremely powerful Kardashev Type 5 alien civilization called the Zeely. And it describes them, you're going to love this, as eldritch symbiotes composed of space-time defects, Bose-Einstein condensates, and baryonic matter. So it seems fine. Seems fine. And the Zeely's own cosmos-spanning war with dark matter entities called the Photino birds. I love this.
And they're literally fighting over the stars. So in this story, like the humanity is at a point where they can notice it, but this is like, I'm pretty sure the book kind of starts in the modern day and then ends up like at the end of the universe. So once they realize that the Zeely even exist, to realize that there's a war in the first place, it's like millions and millions of years in our future. So how would we experience this war if we weren't at that, like right now, like if we weren't an advanced civilization? All we would potentially notice is just, whoa, some stars blinking out, and then maybe we'll get a more of a glimmer if the AI can figure out a pattern or some kind of like, I don't know, like a message would be the best case scenario. If there's some kind of war, like, I don't know, like we're lucky that our star hasn't been blinked out already, and it's like, what if like Fantastic Four is in theaters now, which I haven't seen or whatever, but just we talk about Galactus and stuff when it comes to like Cthulhu or these kind of eldritch cosmic entities that are coming to have kind of they're so beyond our scope that they are the humans to the anthill and that they're not even thinking about us. But what if Galactus is like one soldier in a whole civilization of Galactuses that's more advanced than Galactus and stuff? And it's just like, I don't know, boggles the mind. Specifically, it's about stars. So the only symptom we would see from that is stars blinking out. So is that happening right now? Are the Photino birds battling the Zeely?
I dig that.
That's all I really got, though.
No, fire stuff as always. Thanks for peeling out time for us. I know you're busy at work and all the rest of it. Always a pleasure. You were the best. I'm going to look into the Zeely sequence. It will be linked in the description. And you were the man.
Thank you, bro. Later. Thank you, James.
That's Derek the Night Stalker. Again, it is STOCKER, and go give him a follow. And I owe Herschel one I didn't tell you about Herschel. So while you're down there following the Night Stalker, troubledminds.org/friends, also follow Herschel. Again, there's a lot of people here on this list, and if you belong on this list, yes, you do. It's an in list. It's not an out list. Okay, we're not trying to divide people or make people feel left out or anything. Okay. You belong on this list. All you got to do is help us one iota, and we'll put you on this list. Send me an email, hit me up on Discord or X, whatever. But scroll down to troubledminds.org/friends, or from Troubled Minds, click the friends link. Scroll down a little bit, and you'll find, of course, Herschel there. There you go, bingo. His sexy link tree. There you go. Sorry about that, Herschel. I didn't tell everybody about you when we got back, but I did now. And also the Night Stalker. It is under N, of course, alphabetically. It's all alphabetical. Go check out his YouTube channel. Go check out all the stuff that Herschel's doing. Again, Commercial Herschel, the Substack. The Easytopian is a podcast. All the things he's writing, he's doing the flash fiction. He's doing it a couple times a year now, where every single day he wakes up and writes stories first thing before he does anything else. I mean, it's just an incredible process and an incredible creative outlet to bring to us. And as you can tell, brilliant people and brilliant friends we have. And thank you for that. Thanks for pinning Herschel's link tree over there on Rumble as well. James, anything on any of that? We got time when we get back if you want to add anything else, but there's a ton there. That Zeely sequence and a Kardashev 5 civilization's got my head spinning.
Yeah, it really is amazing. Great call from Derek as always, and I will get into it more when we get back if there's time. But it's really wild because slight spoilers, and I don't have to go into a ton of detail, but for the Star Trek universe, they later on in the series, in the series of all the shows, they get to a point, the Federation gets to a point where they have such major enemies that they do start looking to every other world they can find that they haven't added to the Federation yet to recruit them to help fight those enemies. Not even joking. That's in the TV and movie series.
Here we go. Strap in. You guys ready to encounter the intergalactic war? Just look to the stars, and the the pattern is there. So wild. I love it. Thank you, James. You're the best. Follow James while you're down there. troubledminds.org/friends. Follow James, the again, not just a dear friend, the glue of the show, but the paranormal expert at Troubled Minds as well. All the places, all the things, and thanks for being part of this, James. We'll talk to you when we get back. There's a lot here. There's a lot in play, and we started with the idea of these stars vanishing. Now, when you go back and look at the sky survey, now there seems to be this synchronicity event in 1952 with the UFO flap in Washington, D.C. What the hell does that mean? And how come not just stars vanishing leads to this weird synchronicity with 1952 and DC, but also these transient events which seem to be anomalous objects reflecting light as if they're alien craft? What do you know about it? 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back. More after the break. Nobody on the line if you guys want to jump in here. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, which you can find at troubledminds.org. Right on the very top, just it's the black button. Click that, you get the radio. When we're live on this show, you actually get Troubled Minds live right there, right on the very top. No matter what page you're on, right there. And so you don't have to worry about getting, paying for some video streaming service and putting it in your pocket. It's free right there. Click it. It's an MP3 stream, and come listen, come hang out. And of course, 24-hour programming from tons of amazing people, including James, of course, the paranormal expert at Troubled Minds, as you know him, you love him, and many other folks who have contributed to it. Herschel's on there, Ricky, so many great folks. Serena, shout out back in the day. APOC. APOC, is APOC on there? Maybe eventually. Jan is on there, the Arcane Observer. So many people that have been part of this are also on that radio network. So check it out. Support the fam and go listen to the stream and come hang out. Just be part of this because, like I said, this is not something that is, it's not lucrative. Okay, trust me on that. James, confirm. Lucrative?
What are you talking about, Mike? We're making all kinds. No, we are not making all kinds lucrative. Of money.
Please support the fam in all the ways, and that's one of the ways to do it. Go listen to that radio station. I'm trying to work on some things to get us in a larger audience space. Okay, it's just picking out the right audience space because look, I've had chances, and you guys let me know how you feel about this. Never mind. This is a derail we don't need right now. I'll talk about this on sort of a non-topic show. We'll discuss these ideas, but basically I don't want to put us in a space like a weird political space. You know what I mean? Where it's like either super lefties or super righties, or because those are the types of spaces that they're kind of generating content and needing additional information and people and things. And I'm just like, I kind of don't like either of those things. Anyway, James, back to you on this. And shout out Sweets real quick. I got you. We'll figure this out, okay? The Sweets band, the Restream bot. James, okay.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, we'll figure out how to fix that.
It happens.
Yeah.
Everyone bans the wrong person at least once if you're a moderator, I think. It happens once.
Yeah. I think did I ban myself once? Maybe. We'll work on that. But okay, so Derek had a ton of stuff that he brought to the thing here, including, of course, that Kardashev 5 civilization and the idea of the Zeely sequence. Take that anywhere you like. Love to hear your thoughts. You had some additional stuff you wanted to add. All yours, man. My man. Go right ahead.
Well, it's just amazing because in the Star Trek universe, there really are the big thing was for a long time in the TV series and the movies was just the idea of exploration, which is good in a way, but also bad in other ways. And part of that is they encountered other, I guess you'd call them civilizations. They encountered the Borg. They encountered another alien group of multiple alien species called the Dominion. And these are huge empires, pretty much, that were moving outward, moving forward, trying to take over. And so what was amazing to me is with everything Derek was talking about, the Federation, even though it didn't start out as the idea of taking in more planets, more civilizations to get more powerful, it ended up being that way because they were fighting really a war on two fronts at different points in time, and they were barely holding together. And so they were literally trying to, they were reaching out to all these other planets they could find out there, wherever they could, to see if they'd be willing to join them. And so it's funny how that happens in fiction, and I could see that happening if there's technology that's so far advanced out there that we, again, like Derek was talking about, and Theo, we barely notice it. It just appears as a light or as darkness to us, changing from one to the other. Then there could be that going on. You know, the analogy of the anthill and all that. Just think about that locally. I mean, you know, you can take that to any scale you want, from the anthill to, you know, one part of the world to the other part of the world, to the cosmos. So it really is amazing. Great call from Derek as well.
Yeah, and again, so remember that a Kardashev 5 civilization is literally godlike levels of power. And so if you're talking about a cosmic war that's so far beyond anything we could conceive of in terms of that level of energy output, input and output, clearly it's going to be some level of, I say clearly, conceptually, clearly, in an abstract sense. There we go. Let's make that make a little more sense, because nobody really knows what that looks like. But I mean, wouldn't that be like a war between heaven and hell? You know what I mean? It would be something kind of like that, and that's probably the best way to put it in terms of human ways of looking at that. But it's an unbelievably immense amount of power that's being generated as part of that. And again, I'm not saying it's that. We're not saying it's that. These are possibilities, but you get what I mean. Is that in that space of something we can't even conceive of. God, what do gods look like when they fight each other? We don't know. I mean, we can have some ideas and some metaphorical guesses and some, you know, so that type of stuff. But you get what I mean. Like when you pull a Kardashev 5 card, I mean, yeah, that's what they're able to generate or derive the entire power of the universe itself, I believe, as a Kardashev 5. I'll have to look that up, but it is a massive amount of energy. And so who knows, like this is the type of stuff that we would never really recognize as part of an actual interstellar war, because as I said, they'd be able to cloak themselves from us. They not like they would care, by the way, like that level of power, like they give a crap what the ants think. And we're the ants in this scenario. Yes, we are the ants in this scenario. And so they could give a crap, again, conceptually. But maybe there is something, as we were talking about previously, that there is that Star Trek, what's it called? The Prime Directive. And as James pointed out, by the way, hilariously, you said in the chat earlier that the Prime Directive, the captains violate all the damn time anyway. So, I mean, maybe this is one of those oopses. Yeah. And so hold on real quick on that. I'm going to read this from Herschel. It's perfect and fits into this. He says, they were peeping Tom our windows, and when we noticed them, they skedaddled. And maybe that's it. Maybe they're like, oh, oops, we kind of exposed ourselves, and then we'll tighten up that in, quadrant X to not freak these guys out or whatever. I mean, that type of thing. But I mean, wouldn't that be something like Jean-Luc did, or Kirk, or I mean, how many other captains? I don't know. Those are the two captains I know, and I'm not going any deeper than that because I just get weird after that. But anyway, what do you got on that? Because I think that's the hilarious part of this.
Yeah, those are probably the two most well-known. And yeah, there's just so many examples of them doing that. And they didn't always get in trouble right away because they were who knows how far out in space away from their center of government or of organization. But then a lot of times there would be people from the government that would hear about this days, weeks, months later, and then come after them and be like, hey, you did this thing, and you were not supposed to do that. And even just launch entire investigations into these things. And, of course, because it's a TV series, somehow these, Kirk and Picard and everybody else, they would somehow find a way out of it. Or, of course, something else would happen that would require them to be busy again, and the trouble would go away because the Federation was busy dealing with one threat or another. So, yeah, it really is wild how that has happened so many times in those shows. It just I don't even need to go into an individual example because there's probably too many, to be honest.
Yeah, which again, me as a Star Trek: The Next Generation is my jam. I watched the old ones too. Captain Kirk was amazing, but beyond that, I haven't seen all the rest of the stuff, including the new Picard, which I'm told was really bad and then really good and then finished good. I don't know, whatever. One day I'll catch up and watch all the things. But when I do that, there will be no troubled minds because there will be no time. So you guys decide. Want me to go watch all the things? Otherwise, you'll have to be okay with me remaining ignorant to that space mostly. Regarding, I don't know. I'm not sure what you've covered or not covered because my mind's in 10 places right now. But I don't know. Anything else you want to add to this? Because I've got tons of stuff, including like that living plasma. I wonder if something like that could exist out there in the cosmic space, sort of the intermediary space, maybe watching us in that regard, sort of back to the Watchers as an aspect. Or there's tons of stuff I can get to, but anything else you want to add as part of anything anybody else said or your own ideas or whatever, blah, blah, all yours, or I'm gonna riff.
Well, a couple of things. I mean, if we think of the things that we talked about earlier with suns being moved, there is also the whole idea of the planets and the stars being sentient. What if they move themselves from place to place? That's just something that just came to mind. To where they were there, but then they for whatever reason they decided to move, and so that's why they weren't there anymore. And so yeah, that just makes me think of that. It also makes me think of, again, if a ship is big enough, if a spaceship is big enough. Think about, let's say, like mixing our sci-fi here, the Death Star. Now enlarge that to planet size or bigger. Then that would make the planet a planet the size of an anthill, literally, if you could do that. Especially with the size of planets in relation to suns, I know it's quite a bit different. So if you make something the size of a sun, that can move around, and then it's gone. So all these things, I mean, it's sci-fi, but look at how often sci-fi is just, it becomes reality at some point. And is that, I guess the question there, maybe this is a topic for a whole other show, will all sci-fi eventually be reality? Or is there some things that will never happen?
It's a singularity, James. Here, strap in. Apparently it's next Tuesday or something like that.
Well, as long as we have a date, because I know all those dates are so reliable.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about that. We got Claude Opus 4.1 today. We got actual ChatGPT released open weights, so you could actually and O3 equivalent, I believe, and so you could install the thing on your computer and run it entirely offline. Like we got three massive things today. In terms of, it's only Tuesday. So that's why I make the joke next Tuesday, James, whatever. And again, like I said, if you don't know what I'm talking about and that sounds like Greek to you, don't worry. Trust me, the acceleration is in full play. And I know some of you get triggered when I talk about AI all the time because I'm deep in that space and I'm watching how fast it's accelerating. And that's exactly the point, is that if we're not watching that space, pretty soon it's going to seem like an alien planet. And we're the natives here, so you get what I mean. We got to pay attention. So back to this. This is the Palomar Anomalies. When the stars shouldn't vanish. I'm calling this. Read the write-up. It's very good. So I went heavy on details from the scientific paper this time, and I used, by the way, for this write-up, I used the new shiny thing. I used Claude Opus 4.1. It just was released either today or yesterday. And it's very good. It's very good on the details and the statistics and all the things. I'm going to read straight from that because this is important. We're talking about, again, this paper from Beatriz. Can I say her name properly? Probably not, but I'm going to try anyway. Again, give her a follow, Beatriz Villarroel, Villarroel. And the preprint of the paper, it's under peer review currently. And it is about these vanishing stars and these transit objects. And this is what she said. This is a quick post on X from her. Check this out. And this is where she linked it. This is where I saw it. This is from July 27th. This is a preprint of a paper now under review. We first tried in 2022, but it was too early for the journals. Years later, with better methods, we gave it another go. The key question has been, are the transients real? or plate defects. Well, there seems to be a clear deficit of transients in the Earth's shadow. If correct, that demonstrates there are highly reflective objects with flat surfaces. Think mirrors, glass, etc. And transients are sunlight glints. And it seems there may be a few more of them we initially thought. Now, that's the paper. All this stuff is linked in the description. If you're into these ideas, I encourage you to read this stuff in full, or at least go check out the full Troubled Minds newsletter version of this, because it is mostly kind of locked into fact until it gets to like the last third or so. Then it starts to get weird. But anyway, back to this. So what makes these findings that we're describing right now particularly compelling is their historical context, which is where we kind of started with the where all this weirdness kind of comes together. The 1950s represents a unique window in human history, advanced enough to have sophisticated photographic sky surveys, yet primitive enough that our own technology couldn't be responsible for anomalous aerial phenomena. We had not yet begun to fill the sky with our satellites. Again, Sputnik launched in 1957. The sky survey was 50, 51, 52, somewhere in that space. And our space debris, our radio signals broadcasting our presence to the cosmos, was still, in this particular sense, virgin territory of space. Okay? July 1952 was a month of high strangeness over America, which is where this actual synchronicity comes in as part of this bizarre aspect here. While astronomers at Palomar were conducting their routine sky survey, capturing the heavens on glass plates, something unprecedented was unfolding over the nation's capital, here in the United States of America. God bless America. Radar operators at Washington National Airport were tracking objects that shouldn't exist. Lights that moved in ways that aircraft couldn't achieve, phenomena that would trigger one of the most significant UFO flaps in American history. And let me bookmark that and get to this. So from July, this is from the Wikipedia, from July 12th to the 29th, 1952, again, another summer of saucers, maybe the original summer of saucers, a series of unidentified flying object sightings were reported in Washington, D.C., if you're not familiar with this, and later became known as the Washington Flap, the Washington National Airport sightings, or the invasion of Washington. That's a harbinger. Maybe. The most you're right, James? Yeah. You have the thing, James. Your thing croaked. Your thing croaked. You're spitting out, tapped into the matrix again. Just start Discord, restart. Don't get frustrated. We'll get this fixed. We'll figure out exactly what that hardware aspect is. We think it's his headset. So yeah. So I'm gonna drop you down. Just please come back. Just restart Discord, and then I'll see you back in a second. We'll try it again in a second here. I know it's frustrating and technology and the rest, but I think we've narrowed it down to his headset. We thought we had it fixed. Thank you, James. Sorry about that. Okay, so the most publicized sightings took place on consecutive weekends, July 19th and 20th, and July 26th and 27th. UFO historian Curtis Peebles called the incident the climax of the 1952 UFO flap, and, quote, never before or after did Project Blue Book and the Air Force undergo such a tidal wave of UFO reports. This went on to become one of the most known UFO sightings ever. And so it's interesting to me that we have this synchronicity space of the timing, and not just because of all the nuclear testing, all of this, again, that inflection point of history that I like to call, that I like to point out in some of these unprecedented spaces. We're in one now with this acceleration to that singularity. But back then it was the nuclear acceleration to that level of technology. And so, the bombs had been dropped, and like I've been reading things recently saying there's people saying the bombs never were dropped and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, I don't know, like literally just eschewing all of known history. I don't know, like that type of stuff to me is maybe go there and see it or something instead of like reading stuff on the internet before you make those type of claims. Anyway, I'm saying I'm not ready to go there yet. I'll bet you there's some horrific things if you go on the ground. Anyway. So back to this. So the 1952 UFO flap. Okay, so on April 3rd, the Associated Press reports an upcoming story in the Life magazine that would reveal the Air Force was taking a serious interest in flying saucers. And this is we've covered this extensively. All of this, again, the Kenneth Arnold, the 1947, the naming of the UFO. They weren't discs. Remember, they were actually what were they, boomerangs, I believe, initially. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that kind of fits into this larger synchronistic aspect. But again, now when you're looking at this through the lens of history and recognizing that during the same time, we had these transient events happening that were possibly, I mean, dare we suggest alien craft? I don't think you could say that enough of them were out there to be like, asteroids covered in ice or so, you know what I mean? Something like that. I mean, I don't think so. But again, I'm not the arbiter of the truth of the cosmos, obviously, because if I was, why would I be doing this and talking about these things? I just tell you, right. Raise the heavens or whatever, like part the sea or whatever, but I'm not. Okay. And so as this comes together, it makes me wonder, as Derek was saying too, are we supposed to be watching this stuff? And if we're not smart enough to recognize that something like this is happening, something that's so ridiculous in terms of known physics, in terms of known cosmology, in terms of known anything, that maybe it's sort of the collective human IQ test of Earth. They're like, they're not even smart enough to recognize, like 200 stars dipped, right? And we even gave them the hint of buzzing over, Washington, D.C. with some lights in the sky. You know what I mean? So that type of thing I could see from an advanced civilization in the aspect of, back to the Star Trek, that whole idea. But I don't know, like, what is your guys' feeling on this? Like I said, there's a lot here scientifically, and there's a lot that's, again, being peer reviewed and a lot of things happening in the space. And like I said, I say this a lot too, regarding UFOs and the stuff that people say about them. Look, I'm not sold. I'm not sold on the official narratives. I'm sure that shocks you. And it hasn't endeared me to the, quote, UFO crowd either, because there's all these official narratives that are just running up and down. And I'm like, wait a minute now. Didn't we hear that the exact opposite of the thing was true, 6 months ago now on that now this thing is now instead? I mean, we've got disclosure upon us. A UFO as big as the size of a football stadium, and we know the location of, except nobody will tell us where this is. You see what I mean? It's like everybody has the tantalizing clues and the smoking gun, but nobody's willing to say, well, here's your smoking gun. So am I wrong in suggesting that my tinfoil hat tingles when this type of stuff comes to a screeching halt after all the wild claims have been made? Look fine. Like I said, I promise you, over 7 years, I've said something that pissed you off. Maybe that was the thing I just said that pissed you off. Fine. Whatever. Look, I'm not in this to lobby for to kiss some dude's ass because he's notable in the field or something. Look, I don't care. In case you recognized. But if there are plot holes around, we're tripping in them and we're not talking about them. We're doing ourselves a disservice in this space. James, welcome back. Test 1, 2. Let's pray it works. No, sir. Broken. James. James is tapped into the matrix again. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so let's try. If you're up to it, I know that you may not be because this pisses you off, and it pissed me off too. If you feel up to it, reboot the system entirely and then try again. If you don't feel up to that, I understand. But I think if this is the case and it does fix it, I think I know what's up. So it's a more of a troubleshooting step. If you're done with this, I understand because tech issues piss me off too. Anyway, so you get what I mean. Like I'm not here to endear myself to lobbies, to endear myself to whatever. I mean, whatever. Like I said, I'm not telling you to step off and get lost. I'm saying that there are questions that needs to be asked and there are things that need to be said. And I'm very diplomatic. Like I try very hard to not step on people. Very hard over the years. And many of you that have been here forever can testify that that's the truth. But still, I piss people off because I'm like, well, what about that? Well, what about the other thing? How come all these guys say they got all the goods and never bring the goods? You get it? And I'm the bad guy? Anyway, 1952, Washington, D.C., the UFO flap. Remember, we barely had jet planes. Remember, there were no satellites in the sky. Remember, none of that stuff was legit yet. And yet, it was also a thing. Highly publicized. Clearly, I wasn't there. I'm not that old. Though I look at sometimes bags under the eyes and all, but you get what I mean here. There's a problem. There's a problem with some of this information. And if there's a correlation, I get it, causation, correlation, wild ideas, etc. But if this timing of this particular thing, the Palomar anomalies, as we're calling them, actually happened during this most famous ever UFO flap, I do wonder if there is some sort of coincidence. I don't know. I don't, but I do wonder. And that's it. James is having an out-of-body experience. I feel bad for James. It is highly frustrating, and especially when you think you got it all fixed and it was fixed, and then suddenly now it's not fixed at all. So if this does it, though, we've narrowed it down to his audio driver on probably his headset. So again, fixing these things kind of on the fly or troubleshooting them is part of the game. I've been doing this for years. I at least know enough to know what we've kind of considered as not the problem anymore. And anyway, what do you guys think about this? Like I said, there's a lot happening in this space. We're talking about peer-reviewed science happening right now of one of the most unbelievable, mind-boggling ideas that's ever happened. Not just vanishing stars, but also possibly these transient objects reflecting light in the shadow of the Earth. They're stationary. Think mirrors or panes of glass. What the hell is that? If that doesn't sound like a spacecraft, what does? Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. 702-957-1037. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. You know where to find us, all the things. Troubledminds.org. Click all the stuff. 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Tonight we're talking, again, the Palomar Anomalies. When the stars shouldn't vanish. And like I said, this is one of those things that, look, maybe they find some data problem and, they're like, oh, sorry, my bad. Maybe as part of the peer review process that happens. That's fine. That's exactly the way science is supposed to work, okay? If you can do something amazing or sort of catalog something inexplicable, the whole point of that is to say, okay, please double check me and make sure I'm not tripping here. And that's where that peer review process comes in. I get it. Also, there's a scientific cabal. Don't get me started on that. But clearly, if you can do something amazing and somebody else can't replicate it, then there's a problem. And this is where this type of thing happens. And why, again, we're early on this because we're early on everything as part of the Troubled Minds aspect. But then beyond that, if something comes of this that I don't know, as usual, if something amazing kind of peels out of this, and we're talking Kardashev 5 civilizations or something, like those type of ideas start getting kicked around, like they are sometimes, by the way, like Gary Nolan and some of these guys are talking about, these entities that are, the big P phenomenon itself. And so what does that mean? That would be like a Kardashev 3, 4, 5 type of civilization. We would not be able to define it in human terms. It would sort of be anomalous, trickster-esque. It would be indifferent, maybe. It wouldn't give a damn about us. I mean, there's so many ways to look at that. And that's kind of taps into that cosmic horror that we're always talking about, that Lovecraftian Cthulhu stuff, that at the deepest, darkest level of the cosmos, there's an indifference. There's an indifference to the light of consciousness here on Earth. Or maybe there isn't. I don't know. As usual, right? Like how much do we want to kind of put ourselves in the middle of that cosmic narrative? But you get what I mean. It's complicated as hell. Look, and it might be frivolous nonsense or nothing, but also there's a lot of people that experience a lot of really bizarre things. So what does it mean? I got some more to get to. Welcome back, James. If you're there, test 1, 2. My goodness, cross your fingers. Let's pray this works. Can you hear me, James? Test 1, 2. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. I'm laughing with you, James, if you're there. Okay. Oh my goodness, no. Okay, so broken. All right, so a full reboot didn't fix it. The hardware seems to not be the problem because you do your shows. Okay, we got some issues here. I have no idea what's going on with that. So do me a favor, James. I'll bing you after. I'll bing you after and get some additional information. Because I figured it was going to be the audio driver, but now if you completely reset everything and it's still the same, then it's not. Okay. Yeah, that sucks. Sorry to hear that, James. Appreciate you trying. Like I said, I know it's frustrating when this type of stuff happens and there's no way for us to fix it on the fly. Okay. So back to this. Now the whole point of this tonight is not just to kind of point out great scientists kind of sticking their neck out to do great work and ask these questions that need to be asked. Okay. But also to wonder what possibilities might arise as part of it. And do you think that there would be a cover up of such? Imagine if this was a sort of lead in to a space that was big P phenomenon. There was something that was like, okay, look, we figured out sort of the breadcrumbs of the actual high strangeness space that J. Allen Hynek himself talked about as part of that Project Blue Book aspect and the rest. And if it's the breadcrumbs that leads us in, then maybe, just maybe, this is the beginning of that disclosure process we're always talking about. Anyway, so back to this. So the correlation between the Palomar transients and the Washington incidents might be coincidental, as I said. But science demands we consider this possibility first. But it also demands we acknowledge when coincidences pile up beyond comfortable explanation. Another significant transient event falls within a day of the peak of the 1954 UFO wave, another well-documented period of anomalous aerial phenomenon that swept across multiple countries. And this is Claude 4.1 extrapolating from the paper. And it's, again, very good. I'm very impressed. These temporal correlations hint at something deeper than random chance. They suggest the possibility that whatever mechanism produces transient astronomical phenomena might be related to whatever mechanism produces observations of anomalous aerial phenomena itself, which we see as UFOs, obviously. But this doesn't necessarily mean extraterrestrials. Okay, as usual, there's the binary aspect of all of these ideas come together because, people like ancient astronaut theorists say yes. And if you believe that, that's cool. If you don't, that's also cool. However, you recognize there's a space between there, or even outside of those bookends, that is possible in terms of, right, kind of stacking possibilities. But anyway, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's extraterrestrial visitors, but it might point to natural phenomena we don't yet understand, perhaps involving plasma physics, atmospheric optics, or electromagnetic effects that can manifest both at ground level and in near-Earth space. Now, what does that look like? What does that mean to me? One of my favorite theories, if you've been listening to me for any amount of time, primordial nature spirits. Some level of consciousness that was here long before any level of actual sentience. And maybe even bringing that sentience to us. Maybe that, we talk about it as that sort of cosmic field of, maybe consciousness came first. And maybe those entities are what carried it to us, or, sort of breathed the life of consciousness into us. And maybe it's still here. And we talk about the Gaia hypothesis as part of this, right, that goes back deep and far, billions of years. And so that becomes the question. So in this case, the researchers note another curious correlation, a statistical relationship between the transient events and nuclear weapons testing. Back to Starfish Prime, right? During the period covered by the Palomar survey, the United States and Soviet Union were conducting above-ground nuclear tests that released enormous amounts of energy and radiation into the atmosphere. Could these tests have triggered some kind of atmospheric or magnetospheric response that manifested as optical phenomena? Or does this correlation point to something else entirely? Perhaps an external observation of humanity's nuclear activities. And that's another, again, UFO trope, UFO idea that seems to resurface constantly and continually, that the UFOs or the anomalous entities that we're dealing with are very interested in our nuclear capacity. Okay? So what does it mean? Look, I don't know. And some people even go so far as to suggest this, that they're looking after us and they want to make sure that we don't blow each other up. And some suggest the opposite. No, they want to sort of escalate that and help us exterminate ourselves. Look, like I said, in the marketplace of ideas, this is what we're dealing with. And can I vouch for any of it? Of course not. But these are ideas that are being bandied about as part of this larger conversation. And don't forget, there is science that goes back that's being peer-reviewed that might stoke the weirdness of the high strange that we're always considering. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. 1037. Thanks for putting your hands up, folks. I appreciate the help very much. And sorry to James. I owe you one. We'll figure that out and get that worked out. DJ in Kansas, what's going on? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? Just pop on in here, unmute, and it's all yours. What do you know about this? How does it make you feel? And what are we dealing with? Welcome to the thing.
Hello. How's it going?
Pretty good. Pretty good. No complaints out of me. Just talking about wild things with my friends. What's on your mind?
So first off, if there can be a cover-up, there will be a cover-up, and there probably already is a cover-up. And that's just across, like, my tinfoil hat's radiating with this conversation, because Of course they're going to cover anything up that they can. So even the twinkling of a star, so it's speculated that it's not really twinkling, it's just an illusion caused by the Earth's atmosphere. But like with that electric universe theory, if you believe that 99.99% of the observable universe is a plasma, then that kind of changes things. Because then it would be like a little ray of electricity instead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And back to that sort of the plasma entity as part of it. I'm not sure if you read the write-up, but there's a chunk in there discussing exactly that and that sort of a holographic theory of the universe. And so, yeah, I mean, so many ways to look at it. And that particular thing makes me go, tinfoil tingling, as you said.
It makes you sip the maybe juice, that's for sure.
Indeed.
Well, then all those ancient civilizations, like, we will never know what the sky used to look like. So, like, what did they see? Like, when there was, like, no light pollution, or was there? We wouldn't know because we weren't there. But there were, like, petroglyphs of a stick man, and they speculate that they were drawing these it wasn't art. They were trying to relay what they were actually seeing in the sky. And it's on every continent but Antarctica that we know of, that like this little stick man has occurred. And it just kind of makes you wonder, like, what kind of events were they watching in the sky? Like, were they seeing nebulas and like plasmic waves? What did it look like before we fucked up our ozone?
Yeah, well, not only that.
Excuse my language, sorry.
Okay, I appreciate that. Look, the wild part is we're talking about 75 years. And now we're like, okay, so all this stuff disappeared, but was also anomalous in the same space. And could have been all kinds of stuff. So like you're describing, I think one of the most important aspects here that I haven't brought up, and I thank you for doing it, is that what did our ancestors see? If in 75 years, we're literally missing hundreds of stars, and then kind of looking back at it and going, wait a minute now, only because we kept meticulous records and actually took a sky survey is the only reason this conversation is happening. And so what did they see? I don't know. Like, this turns this whole thing on its head, because what the hell does it mean? And what have we missed for 1,000 years that has never really been cataloged?
Well, and I think that it has been cataloged, but it's been lost to time. So like ancient Sumerians recorded stars and planetary movements. And so did the Babylonians. And it just happened to be on clay tablets that have been lost to time. So then it makes you then wonder, like, how much knowledge have we lost? And also what they did with that too. Like, I think stars are interesting because they mean different things to different people, but I find like the trend is that they're always linked to ancestors, deities, or souls, which is kind of interesting to think about from like the ancient culture perspective.
Especially in the transient space of these things vanishing and just being lost to history. Like, what does that mean? And I'm formulating a show. There's an idea here that's a larger contextual space in that. Looking at these stars as maybe lost ancestors or lost ancestral histories that were there and for some reason have now faded away. And the movie Coco comes to mind. I don't know if you've seen that, but I'm definitely...
Oh, yes.
Right? Something like that. Anyway.
Yeah, it's just weird too, because the star alignments, like, so first off, a shout out to all the Leos out there, because it's Leo season. But astrology, like, we wouldn't have astrology if our ancestors weren't looking out at the stars. And also, fun fact for all you star nuts is that Leo was one of the first constellations that man looked at and decided to name Leo. It was basically named after Ishtar with the ancient Sumerians, which is pretty cool. Or Babylonians. I might be wrong. But it's just like, what do we do with this concept of the stars being in the sky and being so mysterious because they're so far away. Like we have the sun, we can look at the sun every day. Yeah, the sun's a star, but what does that actually mean for us? Like, yes, it provides life, but what about all those stars millions and millions of light years away?
Yeah, and what do they see
and obviously
over there?
We built temples.
Right? Yeah.
Like we have Göbekli Tepe, we got Stonehenge, we got the pyramids aligned with Orion. I don't know. I feel like we're having an issue with society now where we're vastly underutilizing the stars. But what that means, I don't really know.
Nor do I. And that's why sort of, again, the wide open space of the conversation, I think might jog something in somebody that means something somewhere that's poignant, that changes their life. And that's okay. That's why these ideas are outside of the political space. Because look what they've done to us. When we talk about possibilities, we're fringe idiots. I mean, yeah, it's not fair. And so, bearing the torch. What else you got?
That's all I got.
You're the best. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for popping in
Bye.
here. Always a pleasure. Have a great night. That's DJ in Kansas. Again, good friend for a long time on the YouTube and now on the Discord. And yeah, that's what this is all about. Making friends and again, challenging our own concepts of ideas, of structural reality, of what that means. As again, just think of it this way, in terms of a Kardashev 2 civilization, let's say 1,000 years from now, for instance, just for throwing possibilities out there. Do you really think that our human dogma cycles and experiences in science will have any bearing on that 1,000 years or 10,000 years from now or whatever, whenever that comes? Like that is going to be legit magic. And so we're still Stone Age when it comes to quantum stuff. Imagine what the quantum foam brings. Imagine what the idea of something like the Akashic record brings, or information theory as part of a cosmic space. And I'm telling you, when I say these things, it seems ridiculous to sort of the layman or the specialist. But the generalist dreamer can go, yeah, maybe this is where we're headed. But also, don't forget, with maybe comes maybe not. That's it. 702-957-1037. Thanks for the call, DJ. Always a pleasure. You guys are the best, as you know. Let's go to Eric in not Iowa, but Ohio. What's up, brother? Welcome to Trouble
Cornfield.
Yeah, exactly. No cornfields out here. What's up, brother?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. This is a wild one. Like I could talk about this all damn night, all by myself. But I'd rather hear your guys' take because look, there's just so much here. And I got like 25% of the way through the write-up. And the write-up is very good, guys. If you haven't checked out the Troubled Minds newsletter, please check it out. troubledminds.org, scroll up to the top, click it, follow it on Substack. But this one it's so massive. This could probably be 3 shows, but you know, I kind of don't want to do 3 shows on it because it's a lot of work. So I'll go with whatever the shiny object is next time. But welcome to the joint. What do you know about transient stars and these vanishing aspects of the human experience?
Well, I guess I got 2 takes on it, and one I like and one I don't like. Perfect. So I'm going to start with the one I like.
Okay. Let's hear it.
So imagine a long time ago, there was the old universe, sort of depicted like you have discussed in the Stargate, you know, where there's like people who represent the Egyptian culture and race, but they're starfaring people because they're an ancient people, right? And so there's this old universe like full of technology that is bordering on magic. But a while ago, 2 trillion times the mass of our sun fell into a supermassive black hole. Going through that whole process described in The Black Hole Wars by Kip Thorne and Leonard Susskind and Stephen Hawking, where the event horizon of the black hole acts as a sort of temporal stopping point where things get encoded in 2-dimensional space, but all the information is there. Passing through that barrier, area, adds to the circumference of the event horizon, of the singularity. But being on the inside of that and having that 2 trillion times the mass of our sun inside of there, perhaps that is what established what we call our local group, which is comprised largely of the Andromeda Galaxy, M31, our own bar galaxy, the Milky Way. I love that it's a bar galaxy, and the Trigolumnian Galaxy, which is M33, and a whole bunch of swarm of dwarf galaxies and stuff, right? This is our local group that we're kind of hanging out in, and it's been proposed recently that this whole local group is within the confines of a singularity, where from the inside instead of the outside, where you're looking at the event horizon as a place that stops time and encodes information, you're seeing it as the Hubble field, that point beyond which you couldn't perceive anything, because if light was coming from that point, it wouldn't have had time to get to you, so you're effectively cut off in that sense. And you would see that expanding away from you, that Hubble view, as the universe, or as the black hole would get larger, as if it fed on anything. And that these lights that can be seen sometimes are the old universe from the outside of the event horizon being perceived on the inside, where we are at, through the filter of the observer effect, so that you're seeing potential patterns that align with an underlying substrate of information that AI arises from, because of the observer effect and the fact that you're contained within a larger universe that you can't perceive, but which may not have forgotten about you, but you may have forgotten about it. That'd be my first take.
I like that one too. And again, I think if I recall properly, because 10,000 ideas flow through as these shows come together, I think that inside the black hole business is in the write-up. If it's not, I tweeted about it recently. I don't know. It's in my head. It's definitely been in my head as part of this idea. So real quick on that, would that be Hawking radiation? You know what I mean? So if we're inside of the black hole.
Yeah.
Would those be the UFOs? Would those be the UFOs that we sort of see as they're maybe kind of exiting our reality? Or I don't know. If you got a take on that, if not, that's okay. Just kind of came to mind.
Yeah, I mean, possibly, because Hawking radiation bleeds off of the poles of the event horizon as the whole thing spins, right? And so it's like really scrambled information, but could also be organized in patterns.
Okay. I'll take that as a good solid maybe, and no problem. Not to twist your arm. Just curious about that.
And you've heard of time dilation, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, so like that's a thing, and one of the things that implies is there is no now. That what's the past for you might be my present, and what my future is might be your past, or some combination of those things. So the fact that we're perceiving time in different ways kind of says that there is no absolute universal now moment. We all perceive the now moment in our own way, which gives rise to block universe theory, which is this theory that the 4 dimensions of the universe, where time is the 4th dimension, is a matter of navigating through the block universe, so that in certain ways that you move faster or slower changes how time is perceived by you. And then your consciousness can only perceive a slice of it at a time, like watching a movie go by. At 32 frames per second, you only really see one present moment in the film, but the whole thing is written before and after. So it's this idea that the past and the future are already written to some extent and within the block universe. It's just a matter of how you navigate it, which fits in really well with the idea that if you're stuck inside of a singularity, that there is still a connection because of the way block universe would work.
Fair enough. It's a lot for a troubled mind. Late, but yes, but which is the point of possibilities. And again, as usual, right? This is very highly theoretical, conceptual stuff. So everybody relax. If you're like, no, Everybody chill. Everybody relax. So let's get to the idea you don't like. What's that one?
The idea I don't like, and I guess I should preface this with the, everybody can find their own truth. Even people that's looking to avoid truth can find that. But in 2025, there was a peer-reviewed paper by Hambley and Blair that noted that in the mid-20th century, observatories distributed glass copies of plates of surveys, and the high-intensity copywriting and development process is the likeliest thing that would have created these bright spots, which were micro dots and static discharge marks that would appear in the transit-like points. So in short, basically, this peer-reviewed paper argued that no extraordinary explanation was needed, that the aligned vanishing stars could simply be the copy-induced defects of those plates. So, and it would also explain, I guess in this paper, like it explains that that's why they seem to appear and disappear, is because the lights only appeared in the plates that were photocopied plates.
Okay, I see. So this is even more weird than I could dream. And I'm a strange guy. So I
posted that in the chat too. I posted where that paper is.
Okay, thank you for that. And I will follow up on that. And I love these new ideas that I haven't heard, that I haven't considered. And so what does that mean about us in that, let's say in that contextual space of what that scales to? What are we? Or what are we? I guess is the general question there.
Well, I mean, peer review doesn't equate into absolute fact or proof. It just means that the people in this whole, you know what I mean? It's like people agree, yeah, that's a reasonable explanation. Very likely Occam's razor kind of a thing. That's the way I look at it, is like some people are looking for the most mundane possibility, and sometimes they propagate that possibility up as much as somebody looking for an extraordinary possibility. So on either side of that fence, I worry about believing. It's like, okay, so maybe that's the case. I don't really know. I didn't go and examine the plates myself. And of course, I'm not saying there's a conspiracy or nothing. I'm just saying I don't really know myself, right? I just found this paper where these two people are like, yeah, man, it's this. But I have a whole idea too, man.
Yeah, and me too. And we could write papers too, because of course in the what is it? The democratization of information and ideas. Everybody's an academic. You just what I mean is, we well have our chat GPTs and whatnot, but I got your paper up. Thank you for that. But what I mean is of course that opinions and a-holes. Have you ever heard this one? Everybody's got one.
Everybody has one. Some people get paid to put theirs in print and publish it, and some people get theirs published. And I'm getting a paper published here in October.
Nice.
Through Kinzer and Company. It's a historical paper, but
nice. And then you will have become a true human being in the true human sense. And of course, you sense my sarcasm. That's the thing that makes us a true human.
I will be complete, man.
Yeah, exactly. I want to read this too. I've been searching for this comment for the entire time you've been talking, because it was so funny. I didn't read it when Matt's posted this. He said, "We can't even get to level 1 talking about Kardashev civilizations. We are still fighting over parking spaces."
We're at 0.3 right now.
Yeah, exactly. 0.3 for the parking spaces. Yeah, exactly. So this paper that you shared, I will link will be in the description below. So again, thank you for sharing these ideas and all of this. Like I said, I'm with you. I don't know, and I think it's important to stretch and kind of consider what reality is. And when you see something so jarring like this, when we're like, okay, bro, 75 years ago, there were hundreds of stars that we have a record of that are now no longer there. And not only that, the people looking at this think it's not stars. The prevailing theory, at least as I understand it, is they are some level of flat plate-like glass or something that's reflecting sunlight that we're catching as part of our star surveys. Like, that is very zoo hypothesis. I mean, all the wild things you can think of kind of come to mind when you consider that. And also, if that's the case, that there's some level of, conceptually, some level of sentience to those things, clearly they would cloak at some point, or, you know, maybe just be like, oops, they saw us, and then just turn it off. And maybe they're still there, right? I don't know.
Apparently, there was a lot of these that they actually narrowed down to like 5,399. Apparently, they started off with a way higher number, and 290K had matches in infrared catalog. 189 were asteroids, 35 were variable stars, 180 were high proper motion stars missed by Gaia, and 3,592 were artifacts from plate digitalization. After all of those things, they still had 5,399 that these guys started looking into, or she wrote that paper. So apparently there was like a huge amount of this happening anyway, and they had to narrow all the possibilities down. And yeah, like what they said was just what you said. What was left over seemed to be like low Earth orbiting objects that were really shiny, like mirrors, or really always umbra. And so, you know, and of course, it, like you had pointed out, anything.
You're cutting out. And so yeah, which is exactly the point of this. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not. That's Eric. I cut in and out. We'll give him a second to maybe get his internet connection back. But yeah, that's the point, is that if that's the case, like I said, this gets very Superman, you know, the three bad guys put in the magic mirror and floated out into the galaxy or whatever as like the eternal punishment, or not, right? You get what I mean? Like, what does that mean? And what does it mean when you look at the actual reflection of these things? And also, by the way, too, in terms of correlation and kind of free think, don't forget that, remember Oumuamua? We talked about this ad nauseum. I feel like I know more about this than nearly anybody on the planet other than Avi Loeb, who wrote the paper and was doing this. But regarding Oumuamua, the first, you know, interstellar object that came through, they determined that it was possible the mass of this thing was tumbling, and they described it as even, you know, at its, you know, big D thickest. You see what I did there? Disclosure, I mean, but that it was sort of sausage shaped. But then they even determined that the mass level of this thing could have been flat, like a solar sail, which brought that level of discourse to it. And so here we are again, looking at these things and saying they might be flat. They might be glass-like panels. They might be reflecting sunlight back to us. I don't know, man. I don't know. It gets weird. I'm not sure if you're still there, Eric. Your internet warbled out. If I'm talking over you, I'm sorry about that. You still there? Test 1, 2. I'm not sure if he bounced. I don't have the screen up. Nope. Nothing. Eric, test 1, 2. Last call. Last round. Last round. But okay. I appreciate the call. Thank you for that. Sorry for the, again, the tech issues. And again, special shout out for James. I'm sorry about that. Like I said, I know how frustrating that stuff can be, especially when you're interested in the topic and got some things to say. But thank you again for being part of this and caring about the ideas. And again, go back and look at that Oumuamua thing. I'm not kidding you. Some of the estimates, the mathematical estimates of what that thing was, is that it was a very thin strip, like we're describing right now, except it was tumbling, which on 3 axes, by the way. Like I said, I know so much about this because I was following this so closely. We talked about this ad nauseum when it was out. And now there's been a second and a third interstellar object. And the third interstellar object is buzzing through right now. And they're talking about sort of redirecting one of our satellites to go check it out. So I don't know. There's no tumbling axes in this case, as far as I'm aware. But who knows? Who knows what this looks like? But you see what I mean? There's a causation, correlation. Some of these things, kind of squint and wonder what this stuff looks like. And I don't know. But these are questions that should be asked. And be careful of falling into the trap of what some guy said. Look, I know I'm some guy saying something, okay? But what I'm saying is I don't know. But here are the thoughts that come to my mind and the questions we should be asking as far as I'm concerned. Of course, you're different. You're going to think about different questions and different ideas. And that's the point. Reality tunnels and all. You guys are the best. Thanks again. Sorry to Eric for kicking you out there. I don't know what happened to your internet. Sometimes these things happen, and that's the way we roll as part of these conversations. Don't forget to give James a follow, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says follow James here. It's all alphabetical. If you guys are interested in another version of this, maybe down the road, or I feel like I did too much talking on this Thursday or whatever, let me know. Bing me or whatever. Send me an email or whatever. And yeah, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. James, the glue of the show. Thank you for putting up with the tech problems. I know it's a pain in the ass. And thanks for troubleshooting with us. So we got more information on what's happening with you, but I don't know exactly what that is. So I'm going to have to go deep in the tank and ask Claude 4.1 what the hell, what's going on? Because there's always an answer. There's going to be some firmware update that'll fix all the things. While you're down there, give James a follow again, troubledminds.org/friends. Follow James. Also follow Eric again, Hammersmith Music, talented guy in a lot of ways, as you can tell. Very science-minded, very troubled mindsy, all the things, and talented musician. Please go check that out, troubledminds.org/friends. Click on Eric right there. It'll take you straight to his link tree, which has his music and the things he's working on as he adds them and continues them. I appreciate it very much. Like I said, thanks for bearing with me. And right? Let's take one for the human team. I think there are questions that need to be asked. There are narratives that stink, and just because some notable person says them doesn't mean we should buy them hook, line, and sinker. Look, if that makes me the enemy of this disclosure movement's trademark, then fine. Do I look like I care? Whatevs. Look, I'm not in this for, like I said, kissing somebody's ass. I'm in this for recognizing that the world we live in is not as it seems to be. That's it. That's the way I see this. Once I learn all the things, y'all will be the first to know. You all will be the first. I'm not from Texas. If you want to help Troubled Minds, help our friends, troubledminds.org/friends. Shout out to the Robert again for the generous donation over there on Rumble. I appreciate that very much. If you want to help Troubled Minds, you can sub up on Rumble. It's just $5 a month. And by the way, I learned that it just drops it right into my PayPal. So if you want to tip us over there, thank you for that. The Robert did that tonight. And he also subbed up over there. And shout out Magavelli, apparently the official graphic designer of Troubled Minds. that guy also over there tipping us a lot on the Rumble. Appreciate it very much, because of course we've been demonetized on YouTube. But don't forget, the most important part of all this is that, look, I'm not simping for money. I'm here considering ideas and wondering what all this means. Am I wrong? You bet your ass. However, the ideas that flow through here are unparalleled because of our smart friends and our ability to detach from the dogmas they've given us. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. We'll see you on Thursday night, God willing. Don't forget the Stoic mindset. Tomorrow is not yours until it is. So do your best and consider everything you have in the moment.